Welcome back to another Conductor Sunday Livestream on a Monday. I'm your host, Theme Park Conductor, and tonight I am joined by Hollow Gelato as we break down a lot of Disney information and news. And then we're also going to take a look at the newest version of Halloween Horror Nights speculation map from Hollywood to Orlando. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce the one, the only Hollow Gelato, my best friend in the whole world and amazing co-host when we do these lives. Here we go, folks.
Hey everyone, George the Disney Italiano, Hollow Gelato Familia. You can find me actually on YouTube on Hollow Gelato, where Abby and I cover all theme parks with Disney, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal, even the cruise line. And also, too, definitely go over to Hollow Gelato because Abby and I just did a vlog covering our LA experience, our personal LA experience, by walking through the true footsteps of Walt Disney. We went to a lot of his hangout spots, his final resting place, and even his old studio and house that he bought when he moved to LA. So definitely, it's definitely a look see. So go over to Hollow Gelato and check that out. You could also find us on Instagram under Hollow Gelato. And a big shout out to Theme Park Conductor. I love doing these live shows with him. Any kind of content, anytime we get to hang out, I absolutely adore Theme Park Conductor, and he's one of my best friends. And honestly, I have such high respect for him and his craft of what he does on the social media platforms and through the content creation. So, absolutely.
Yes, and again, George and I, oh my gosh, we have this kinetic energy. It's crazy. Doing that 11-hour live stream we did, which is both on our channels, definitely go check that out. If you have nothing to do, nothing to watch, 11 hours of me and George just going back and forth with the theme parks. That really unlocked a lot of doors for both of us. So definitely go check it out. And everybody in the chat is absolutely amazing. Before we get started with the topics, I just want to say hi to a few people that have gracefully, dedicated some time to watch us tonight. We got John in the house. We got Giant Peter in the house. The wonderful Abigail is in the house, one of our moderators here on Theme Park Conductor, and as George mentioned, a co-host to Hollow Gelato. We got Mark McHugh in the house, Lene Ward. We got, I think that's it. But
I have to say, with especially now with this group of people that we have in the chat with John and Peter and Mark, Lene, and Abby, this is going to be a very interesting conversation because I had a very interesting one on my solo live on Hollow Gelato, and when Lene and Mark joined, if you don't know, folks, go watch a playback of my last live on Hollow Gelato. That one was, oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
oh, by far, I loved it. All right, so the first topic we're going to talk about tonight. This is from the Boardwalk Times. They posted on X. There's a lot of tabs we're going to break down into from X, but it says former Disney CEO Michael Eisner hates the memoir he wrote. In hindsight, I don't know. I shouldn't have done it, and I shouldn't have done it that early. George, can you enlighten everybody what the statement from Boardwalk Times is referencing?
Yeah, so basically what this is that recently Michael Eisner did an interview and everything, and he's starting to kind of come out, and now with everything that of the Walt Disney Company announcing, for Josh tomorrow, becoming the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, succeeding over Bob Iger. Eisner's kind of going back through his history as CEO, and with this statement in particular, he had written a book, through his time of, his memoir of his life, being the CEO and what have you. And he's not regretting writing the book, but he's regretting the time frame that he did. He feels like that he did it too soon. That he wished that he would have waited a bit, for him to be more seasoned, with everything that he would want to share. Um, that the book would be, I'm not saying that the book that he wrote was inaccurate, but I think it would be more accurate today for the knowledge that he knows now, that if he would have waited.
Yes, and that's something that I definitely want to, and I know it's been out in bookstores and online for quite some time, but I definitely want to get his book and kind of read his book and see where that breaks down. But it's interesting that we're seeing this type of content coming from Michael Eisner, because there's a YouTube um, big kind of interviewer I just followed. And later on, maybe this week or next week, we're going to do a full reaction, me and George, on Theme Park Conductor, where we're going to play the entire interview. And Michael Eisner talks about, his life after Disney, what he thinks about Disney. We actually have two clips from that interview we're going to play tonight that kind of ties into everything we're talking about. But very, very, very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Iger comes out with the book. I know it's going to be his second time retiring from the company, and I would hope he doesn't come back a third time. So we'll just have to wait and see. But
I actually agree with you. Even though Iger had already written a book, I could definitely see him writing a number two book, because I also feel like he would then use any outlet that he possibly could to keep his name in the company. So even though he wouldn't be CEO anymore, I feel like that he would use a lot of other outlets, um, in doing so, to keep his name in the brand. I'm very curious to see now how they present, um, the Walt Disney Magical Life Show, because once March 18th comes, they would then have to say they'd probably still keep Iger, because I know for a fact with him still being in the company, he would have a problem with them removing him right away. So they'll say the former
yeah,
CEO and chief creative officer. So they'll just add former to that. Then once December 31st comes and he's completely out, they can still keep him for a little bit and say former, or maybe Josh would take over for the narration and they just swap it out.
that would be definitely very interesting. Or the third option, which I know people aren't thrilled about, they could just let Iger have that attraction with the overlay and just leave it alone. Again, I'm not standing up for Iger, because there has been some questionable things he's done. Um, but if they wanted to, they could just let Iger have it and let Demaro, make his rubber stamp on something else. You know what I mean? So it could go anyway. Actually, I just want to
And
catch up. Oh,
and
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, before you move on, I just want to give hellos and shout outs to Sean Narani, Michael Snuffner, Maddie the Cool Girl. Um, it was I know you brought it up earlier, but I just want to give the shout out Melinda Farnsworth and, um, forgive me because it's all combined. Uh, what is it, Brandon?
Brandon, the Lego Disney fan.
Lego Disney fan. Okay.
Yeah. So we got some comments here. John mentioned, I hope he drank water every 20 to 30 minutes and took 30-second breaks. Talking for that long is really hard on my, he's mentioned about the 11-hour live stream. Yes. I had like 5 bottles of water off to the side here on my desk. So It was crazy. Um, let's see. We got Shane Narani said this was an interview in depth with Graham uh, Bensinger. It's an hour and a half interview. It is really good. So Shane Narani, like I said, me and George are going to do a reaction video. It's not going to be a live, but it's going to be a reaction video to that full interview, and it will be on it'll be available for members for the first 2 days, and then after that it will become public. So just to let everybody know on that. We got Maddie the Cool Girl, we got Mark McHugh.
George said number 2.
Number 2, that's funny. John also said Eisner didn't cheap out on rides when the funds were available. I do agree with that, but when the funds weren't available, we saw cheapening out.
I can see it both ways. So, John, yes, I do agree with you to an extent, just like Conductor. But also, if we go back during the time of the Disney decade, as a whole, yes, Eisner kind of kept his promise of the Disney decade, where 10 years of adding stuff new, but there was a lot of cost cutting to that, and a big part of that of the Disney decade was building Animal Kingdom. And
Yes.
when they built Animal Kingdom, we were supposed to get Beastly Kingdom, that was supposed to have an e-ticket dragon attraction. I think an attraction with unicorns, centaurs, and anything mythical. And they budget cut, and essentially that's when it became Camp Mini Mickey, and they added the Festival of the Lion King and Pocahontas and her forest friends, and then eventually Pocahontas and her forest friends went away. The Lion King moved over to Africa, and then Camp Mini Mickey now became Avatar: The World of Pandora.
Absolutely. And there were other things that Eisner did during his leadership. He was heavily involved building Euro Disney, which is now Disneyland Paris, as we all know today. He was also involved with Hollywood Studios in Paris, but also the Hollywood Studios in Orlando making the partnership deal with MGM. So there was that. There was like a handful of stuff he did.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you could bring up Lene's comment, because this is actually really true. Michael Eisner's son was involved in giving attractions the green light. Tony Baxter talks about the fate of Splash Mountain, etc., being up to his kids, to his kid. And yeah, I remember that with Splash Mountain, and also incorporating, I believe it was Star Tours.
Yes.
Because I remember his son had a lot involvement of incorporating, Star Wars into the parks, because he was a huge fan of it. And he was like, Dad, I think this is like a really good idea. You have to put something in there of Star Wars.
No, absolutely. And then we have Mark McHugh. He said Eisner made Hollywood Studios in Paris. It wasn't until this year till they finally fixed that blunder. I think is he referring to when they got rid of the archway in Hollywood Studios in Orlando? Mark, if you could clarify that, that'd be great.
I think he's referring to made Hollywood Studios in Paris. I think he's referring to the Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to. Which now they're fixing it for Adventure World.
Gotcha. And then we got Brandon, the Lego Disney fan. He mentioned at John, he was mostly silent on the studio tour tram, and of course we ate at some portions. Shane Norani says the great thing about Eisner, what does that say? Eisner
that he reigned in was service was put first, and I definitely agree with that.
Oh,
I
Jen,
honestly, when it was under Eisner's belt, the impeccable service down to the minuscule of
sure.
detail was there.
Well, see, that's one thing I liked about Eisner as well. He was a lot like Josh tomorrow. He threw on his Disney clothes and he was walking around talking to guests and just kind of just hanging out, being the vibes guy. So I really
He put
appreciate.
his what he did was Eisner was a very interesting kind of CEO because he put his handprints in almost everything, whether it was big or small.
Absolutely.
Like with Iger, you only really seen him come out of the woodwork when it had something substantial to say.
Sure.
Where
No,
Eisner would come on every weekend for the Disney Channel to present a movie on the Wonderful World of Disney, where he would go, "Hi, I'm Michael Eisner, CEO of the Walt Disney Company." He would be like the master of ceremonies, whether it was something very small or very big. He had his handprints in.
100%. And then Billy rides CA. Billy, I don't think I've seen you in the live stream, so welcome in. He says Eisner was better for WDW. Iger, I think, was more fair to all parks again and invested. Do you see it that way?
Um, well, first off, I have to say, Billy, welcome in. Billy Rides actually came on my live
Oh,
the
very
other
nice.
night. So yeah, so great to see you back, Billy. And let's see, Eisner was better for Walt Disney World. Iger, I think, was more fair to all the parks getting invested. I think to a degree, I think I can see where you're going with that because it's not that Eisner didn't try. I feel like Eisner kind of backed out once Euro Disney, which is now Disneyland Paris, like was a complete blunder, as Mark McHugh put it. And I think that kind of shied him away where he was focused on Disney World. And I do agree with you, Billy. I even think he was even a little bit more keen on Walt Disney World than Disneyland, to be honest with you. Even though that he would walk the park of Disneyland, it's almost like he didn't want to like touch Disneyland for some reason, but he was very heavily invested in Walt Disney World.
Well, yeah, 100% because we saw cutbacks. I'm not gonna lie, during Eisner's leadership with Tomorrowland, with the People Mover, then we have with DCA what it is today with the starting off with the 1.0 version, which originally we were supposed to get Westcott, and that didn't happen. So there were some things Eisner kind of cheaped out on and didn't do that we were kind of hoping. So again, each CEO that runs a company, they leave a mark on the company. Most of the time it's positive, but they do have their, critiques here and there. And I want to give a big shout out to Chris West for the $1.99 super chat. Always great to see Chris West. I'm going to bring up one more comment before we get back to our topics. We got Brandon, the Lego Disney fan. He mentioned once Euro Disney initially failed, a lot of cutbacks happened at the domestic parks, even changing Westcott, like I was just mentioning, to Disney's California Adventure on a shoestring budget. And we did see a shoestring budget a lot because the 1.0 version was I rather have preferred Westcott, and as Mark McHugh calls it, Westcon.
Westcon.
Westcon. I love it. So going back to this X post, this is a new sipper that George brought to my attention, and I'm going to be honest with you, folks. Um, there are many things I can say that's wrong with this picture on this sipper here. It kind of looks weird, but I'm going to hold back my opinion. George, what do you think we're looking at here?
Well, I think honestly, if you're going to hold back your opinion, if anyone knows me, I won't. So, what what this kind of looks like to me is one of two things. Either the roles reversed and it looks like Max is going to give Goofy a spanking, or Max is about to play rock paper scissors with Goofy's butt.
You're not wrong with that. And it doesn't, oh my gosh. like I said, I'm restraining myself because that right there is just like, oh my god, like almost like borderline S&M type, you know.
S&M.
Yeah, it's like, what are we looking at here, for God's sakes? Come on, man. Oh my god. So let me ask you this, George. How much do you think the sipper is?
um, I'd say maybe I'd say maybe 20 to 25, I would think.
Okay. Okay, no, absolutely. And we got well, my fault. We got Robert Spry in the house. Always great to see Robert. I
Absolutely.
I I'm gonna be honest with you. This sipper should come with a context warning card or something. Like I said, there's some things that people can go off. Like literally, Lene said, "Goofy's got a dumper."
And they're both on a roll today. And Max is an ass man, is what he said. And then Mark also continued in brackets brown eye to eye.
Oh my god.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Robert? Glad you're in the chat. Always good to see you. And yeah, this is a very lively, hefty live. So welcome in, everyone. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
no,
great.
absolutely. You guys are amazing. I love doing these live streams, especially with George. After doing that 11-hour live stream, that was legendary. Let's go to this post
Really,
first.
really quick. This is completely off the subject. I don't know why this came into my head, but John Make It Rain said plastic isn't cheap, which is really true. But I don't know why when the saying plastic isn't cheap, it reminded me of the song from Team America World Police. It's the
Oh,
movie by the creators of South Park. It goes, freedom isn't free. It costs folks like you and me.
oh
And if
Lord.
you don't put in your bucko 5, who will?
Oh my God. See, this is what I mean. This is what I gotta live with for 2 weeks in Florida. God help me. I'm just kidding. Um, no, he's fun. You know what, George? You honestly should do a members only live where you're at a karaoke bar singing. That would be funny.
That would be funny. Yeah, I think if I did that, yeah, that would definitely have to be underpaid content.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
So, and really quick before we move on, Lene's asking, where do you sip out of that?
I don't know. That
That is true. Where is the straw?
I don't remember seeing it. Hold on. Let me go back to that post actually. I just got to pull it up in messages here. Bear with me, everybody.
There's Mondo.
There's Mondo. Front and center. I love it. Okay, so where is that sipper at? Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. Don't tell me it's through that little cane thing.
Is it through? Yeah, well, it looks like because that's a fishing pole. Do you drink it out of? Where is it?
I don't know. I don't. I'm kind of scared to find out. Let's put it that way.
Maybe they didn't actually add the straw. Maybe you got to stick it in Goofy's butt and like.
No comment. I reserve my comment for that. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god. But this is going back to Disney Scoop Guy. So you actually brought this to my attention. A lot of these articles and posts that we're going to look at tonight was courtesy of you. Um,
Mhm.
uh, um, what we? Oh God, what did Mark say? I am not even going to repeat
Fine,
that.
I'll do it because I think I think I could do a pretty good garsh. Let's see. It says, "Come suck on Goofy's pole, gorsh."
God. Oh my God. Shane Norani says, with what it's looking like, it's going on the do you really want to know? No, I don't want to know. I'd rather keep that a secret. The less I know, the better. Lene Ward says, where do you quench your thirst? Is that a perfect cat ass? Oh my
The
God.
perfect cast, but Ass. I like that.
Oh, I love it. And we got Kevin David in the house. Great to see
Welcome,
Kevin.
Kevin.
He mentions Josh tomorrow focus will be well-known IPS moving forward or IPs moving forward instead of taking creative risks with Disney because right now because people easily get offended about everything. Well, see, that's the thing. That's why we saw Splash Mountain turn into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We've seen some other things transpire around the parks. So I don't know. I'm hoping Josh has a better stance with something like that. I hope he does incorporate IP in the parks, but also goes to non-IP attractions like um let me see, like the People Mover, or we have Expedition Everest in Animal Kingdom, which I can't wait to ride that. So I'm really hoping that he leads the company in that direction and not just make everything IP based. So we'll have to wait and see. We got Mam Lizelle in the house. Always great to see Mam Lizelle with the 4.99 super chat. Thank you, Mam Lizelle. She mentions evening, George and Conductor. Have a great live, fellas. Absolutely. And thank you, Mam Lizelle. We also got from uh Abigail. Thank you, Abigail.
But actually this is Angel.
Oh,
This is Abby's daughter.
oh,
This is my yeah, this is thanks Holojolo for our Disney allowance. Here's the change. Thank you
oh,
so much, Angel. Greatly appreciate it.
thank
They went to Disneyland today, and
cool.
so I wanted to send them a little something.
Sure.
So I sent them some little mad money they could have fun with.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Mad Money. Eh? I like that name.
Yeah, so
Cool.
that's gonna be my stepdaughter. So I'm gonna have a stepdaughter and a stepson.
Oh, very
Through
nice.
Abby. So I
Oh,
mean, even though technically that it's titled as step kids, but even
yeah.
though technically that's what it is, but
Oh,
essentially
well,
I just call them they're my kids. So
absolutely. So, the word step doesn't even need to be involved. But
yeah.
thank you, Angel, for that 4.99 super chat. You're absolutely amazing. Um, George, I want to ask you, because Matt from Disney Scoop Guy, he's really an awesome dude. I love hanging out with him at the parks at Disneyland or DCA. But he says AI is getting out of control. I'm gonna play the clip without sound, but maybe you can reiterate what Matt's trying to come across here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when you watch this, it starts out as the normal scene of the stampede scene where Scar throws Mufasa off the cliff. But as you can see, using AI, it's giving you that what if factor. If Scar kind of changed his tune about his brother and he ended up saving him, and it shows that all three of them, and they title it the Lion Kings, and it's like, and I get it. It's just like a little play on thing of like what AI can do, but essentially this could be very bad, very dangerous in the sense of like how much usage AI, could be used, and this is what I think Disney has to be careful when they're going to utilize AI itself and basically give out their characters to AI. Now, obviously, Disney didn't do this, but this is the kind of thing that happens when it's uncontrollable because Disney had already sent out a few cease and desist letters to some companies that have been utilizing their characters without their permission. And I believe it was Matt that mentioned it in the thread, that said it's going on so much that, yep, see, I actually posted that one, the meme from The Office. Nope, don't like that. And Matt said, yeah, here we go. It's right on that second one. There's so many companies making AI videos now. I'm guessing it's like playing whack-a-mole. Disney has already sent cease and desist to multiple companies, but I'm sure it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop, and that I could really see because once AI is going to be used, it's going to be catapult into so many divisions and subdivisions that you can't keep up with it.
No, 100%, and that's kind of what's scary about it when you think about it, because AI is really an unknown technology. Like it's known, but it's still early in development in a lot of ways, and we're seeing, you know, iterations of what AI can do, and it is kind of scary because you know it's going to be interesting under Josh's leadership and just the leadership across the board with the Walt Disney Company and many different roles with new people in those roles, how this is going to be under control. Because we all know that Iger, who is currently still the CEO until at least the 18th, where he says he's going to step back. We'll see about that. Um, that invested him and the company invested $1 billion into open AI. So this is just a very snippet in the beginning of what AI can do. But I agree with George. At what point is Disney going to put, the blocks in place? Because if you don't have roadblocks, we're going to be seeing a lot more content from just
So
random people doing this.
This begs the question. It kind of goes back to Josh D'Amaro becoming CEO and Dana Walden becoming president and chief creative officer, which they said Dana's going to be heavily looking into AI. Do you think that Disney should stay away from AI?
Well, see, I would agree with staying away from it if it wasn't for the fact that Iger, him and the company spent a
I know
billion
they
dollars.
invested billions into that. That's yeah, so they have to at least try to get their money back. But I mean, so take that equation out, just the overall generalized thought. Do you think that's a iffy road to go down?
It's definitely iffy, and I would just tell the Walt Disney Company, or if tomorrow was on this live stream, I would tell them to be very careful and really put a lot of restrictions and really get someone under his leadership that can really kind of, you know, overlook this AI. You know what I mean? To be extremely cautious because as we're seeing it right now with the Lion King, one of the absolute classic animations from the early days of uh the Walt Disney Studios, things can get out of control. So I would just urge tomorrow to be careful with it since they're already heavily invested with it and not to let it get out of control.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, they don't let it spiral out of control where it's like all it is utilized is AI. Because
Absolutely.
when the term is called like when man creates AI, but essentially it's almost like a replacement, really, because when you start using AI, it then replace actors, it replace people, it replace jobs, and it's like we're already in a society where everyone is hurting financially, stability to earn a living, earn an income. So with AI in the mix of it and moving forward, that it's just going to keep getting greater and keep growing. It's like it's scary, really, when you think of it.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Um, you know what? You know what? We'll talk about this now. So there was a post. I also have the article, so I'm going to read through the article as well. But this was from Judy Winslow, and Mondo commented on it. But it says, I'm hearing the initial plans for Villains Land have been scrapped. Imagineers have been told to think of bigger, bolder ideas, budget secondary. Not sure if this is new players, new game, RE Josh as CEO. So I'm going to say this
And just
because
so, just really quick before you say that, hold your thought. And that message was written by Len Testa.
Len Testa, yes. No, absolutely. Um, one thing I want to say about this is because we even said it with Oogie Boogie Bash. Okay. Oogie Boogie Bash takes place at DCA every year. And I've talked about it with George, I've talked about it with others. I kind of felt, a Halloween after dark event like that. First of all, it's always the same, very minor changes. First of all, second of all, it's not edgy enough. It's very family oriented, which is not a problem. But during the Halloween time, that's when it's kind of that spooky season. You want to be scared and all that. So a lot of the villains that are going to be incorporated into this land at Magic Kingdom, we see them do meet and greets at Oogie Boogie Bash. But again, when it's going against Halloween Horror Nights, it's going against Fright Fest at Six Flags, it's going against Not Scary Farm. Even SeaWorld's getting into the game a little bit with their Halloween event. Um, it begs the question, is this something that Josh tomorrow, as the CEO, is really gonna leave his legacy on, one of many things, if this becomes true? Now, again, I want to make this very clear. Lentesta, big shout out for putting out the statement. But if it is true, could this be one of the legacy moves that Josh tomorrow does? George, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting. Now, we still have to take this with a grain of salt because Disney hasn't confirmed nor denied, this claim. However, Len Testa is very um, well known out there with information, and a lot of it is usually spot on. And after that, a lot of other news outlets in the Disney community, for which Conductor has one of them with the article from Deservations. Um, they wrote an article on it where they're talking about the same thing. I think honestly that is a great start for Josh, because if we all wanted a villain's land, first off, for how many decades? They teased us about it at D23 in 2022, and then they made the official announcement 2 years ago at the last D23 where the whole arena erupted. They actually saved this as the last piece of news that caught us all by surprise. But what I love what they did was they just gave us what you could see in front of you now, a vague concept piece of concept art that doesn't really say too much. And a lot of people complain to say, "Oh, well, how come it's, we didn't get no information and what have you." This is why. In this instant, I'm glad we didn't get a whole lot of information up front, because if we did, then we would be going back and saying, "Oh, Disney is feeding us lies about what they planned to do," and then they end up changing it. So, whatever they initially had planned for Villains Land, I'm for sure was great. But if this is true and this is the case, and Josh, under his name says, "You know what? We got to go even bigger. We got to go grander. We got to be greater." I'm all for it. That makes me even more excited, because if this is the piece of concept art, even though, again, with a grain of salt, you can't go by the concept art, but if this is what the concept art was prior, and they're saying to go bigger and better and greater over this, that has me really excited for Villains.
Oh, 100%. Because the Disney villains is like what Universal is with the monsters. So they can really hit a home run out of the park with this. And I would love nothing more to see it. And one thing I will tell you about this Villains Land before I read this article to everybody is the mere fact that they can really make this a spooky land at Magic Kingdom during the Halloween season, like after dark events out there, which I've never done an after dark event at Walt Disney World. I'm hoping to do one with George in the coming years. As you know, we're less than 2 weeks away, or just about 2 weeks before me and George and Tommy Toon World make our way out to Orlando for 2 weeks. Um, I would like to see this land become very, very scary and spooky and edgier during the Halloween season. Do you think that's possible for an
That could
after
be
dark event?
that could be what they're referring to. Maybe it's too watered down, diluted in a sense, and maybe they want to make it more edgy, more spooky, more scary. Maybe not like over the top, but maybe just give it a little bit more edge for that
Sure.
land. And I know a lot of people would disagree and say, well, it's in a castle park, it's in Magic Kingdom, it's in one of the biggest theme parks. Well, the biggest theme park. It's still number one for how many years? But wouldn't that entice you to do something ambitious like that even more? That if you're going to put this in the number one theme park in the world, you would want to go big. You know,
Yeah,
you'd want to do something spectacular.
100%. So this is an article again, like George mentioned, from Deservations. It was written by Joshua on February the 16th. So I'm gonna go to this point right here. It says we don't typically treat web form comments as news, but in this case, we will make an exception. Len doesn't do clickbait. We pay attention when he posts. So, what could this mean for Magic Kingdom's villains? That's where this article will be light on details. That's because Disney has been light on details, which absolutely makes sense. Again, this is their bread
And
and
that's what
butter.
I'm glad. I'm glad that they're light on details. I only want them to be heavy on details when they have a concrete vision of what they're giving us. Because when they don't, and they just throw something at us and we get all excited, and then by the time we go from point A to point B to point C to point D, that the finished product is nothing like the original concept. And that's why I always say, don't get married to the concept art.
Absolutely. So it says what Disney has officially told us. Josh D'Amaro, currently Disney's Experiences head and future CEO, originally announced that the project at the 2024 D23 Expo, which George was front and center for that. He teased that the land would include two major attractions, dining and shopping, an incredibly twisted grand scale. A few months ago, or a few months later, Damaro revealed the villains coming to Magic Kingdom at D23 event in Brazil. He also shared a light backstory for the area, saying that a mysterious spell has been cast summoning villains from every realm in this land. Heroes don't come to save the day, and there may not be the happily ever after. At Destination D23, we learned that the legendary animator Andreas DJ is consulting, pointing
So,
imagining
Andreas Deja.
Andreas Deja. Thank you.
Mhm.
Consulting, pointing Imagineers towards the studio's animation heavyweight baddies like Gaston, Jafar, and Scar from Inspiration.
Yeah, so I was really excited to the fact that they brought Andreas on because yes, in the 90s in the Disney Renaissance era for the films, he was literally he created the overall aesthetics and the look and the personality of those Disney villains. He he was the lead supervising animator for Gaston and Beauty and the Beast, for Jafar and Aladdin, and Scar and The Lion King.
No, absolutely. WDI executive producer Wyatt Winter said that their stories will contribute to the big personalities, bold visuals, and rich backgrounds coming to the Magic Kingdom. Winter also shared that Imagineers have visited Barcelona and Paris to study art. Uh, was that new what's that, new Wava architecture?
No,
I say
wait, where are we here?
right here.
Oh, no, Novo architecture, I think.
Novo.
No.
Okay. He
Yeah.
said Imagineers received an intimate look at the architecture aesthetics that will serve as the overall design inspiration for the land. All of that is the classic Disney slow play reveal. Heavy on vibes, light on the rides will do this. The stuff we know. A recent wastewater permit revealed the layouts for the villains themed land in Piston Peak. The former includes two large show buildings, while the diagrams are newsworthy and created plenty of social media discussion. They are simply utility footprints and not blueprints for the land. They reveal where some of the plumbing goes, not how magnificent will turn into a dragon. So I do want to say before I keep reading, there was a video from Jack from DSNY. Big shout out to Jack. He actually did a layout of what Villains Land is going to look like in a way, and how stuff is going to be laid out according to what how he sees it. So definitely go check out that video from Jack from DSNY. It says
Absolutely.
continue.
And before you continue on, I just want to say a couple things to the things that you had mentioned. When they were going over to Europe and everything and looking at architectural style, for the land and what have you, that very well still can be implemented into the land. But I'm wondering if that's one of the aspects that will be changing. That you're going to give us a big, ambitious land, and you're kind of like doing this. I hate to say it, like these field. Don't get me wrong. I love when the Imagineers go on the field trips. So I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But unnecessary field trips. Sort of like how many times that they went down to New Orleans for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You
Yeah.
know, that like those kind of, I don't really think that they needed to really go to Europe for that, to be honest with you. I would have thought, take it from the playbook and go back to the actual animated movies and
Sure.
see how rigid the lands are. Look at Sleeping Beauty for Maleficent's Forbidden Mountain. Go look at the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. Like go into those areas. Like you don't need to like spend all the money to go out to Europe to look at something that's already existing in the real world. Give us something out of worldly that we're stepping into the pages of the villains.
Absolutely. Continuing on the article, it says, so if Imagineers have indeed been told to swing for the fences, it doesn't necessarily mean the layouts will change, but the concepts inside them can still evolve. The new CEO angle. Here's the interesting part of Lene's quote: budget secondary. See, this is what I like. Again, I understand as a CEO, as a company, they can't splurge on everything. But something like this, where we're talking about the Disney villains, this is where I would say splurge on it. Let's,
Yeah, see,
the
this
how
is
much
something.
budget.
Yeah, this really, honestly, when you're dealing with the villains and knowing the demand for this, they should
Yes,
really think like OLC and Abu Dhabi, and like
yes,
just go all. If most of the budget had to go for that, so be it. And then you could always make the rest up as you go along. But before you continue on, there's two questions I want to get to. It was Mark and Sean Narani.
okay.
Sean Narani's the latest one. I have to go back up to see Mark's. But Sean says, do you think that is why at Destination D we only got the influence of what they were looking at for inspiration? I think so. I think that's why they were very vague, because here's the thing: Disney's always 10 steps ahead of us.
Yes.
At that time at Destination D, I think honestly the company kind of maybe already had an idea that Josh D'Amaro was going to be CEO. because
Yeah,
even Iger said in like those interviews, he's been watching Josh for many years and seeing how he works. They were already in commute that that's what was going to happen. So if Josh was going to the Imagineer saying, you know what, we need something big and bold. So probably, yeah, when Destination D rolled around, it's like we just got to give them something very vague for the time being because we can't give any extra information out. And then Mark's question was, uh, who do we want at Villains Land? Give me a roller coaster based on that part in Hunchback where Frollo is getting all, all hot for Esmeralda. Um, so that's a very good question. That is something that Disney has not yet elaborated on which actual villains they'll use. They kind of played on it where they did showcase like villains, like the name of the villains that they would use.
sure.
But it's still no clarification of which villains are going to be used in the attractions, what villains are going to be utilized in the maybe a restaurant or the merchandise. So there's still a lot of untold of what villains. Now we did get a little hint at we call it Imagineering. It was one of the episodes where they were talking about audio animatronics and the next generation of audio animatronics, and they brought up um, Hades, which I thought was very interesting. So I think we possibly could see a Hades audio animatronic, which I think would be really cool because Hades is very big in stature. So he's like, they made the character very tall.
Yeah,
So, plus with the special effects of his fiery hair and what have you, I would love to see Maleficent as an audio animatronic, and I would love for her gown, her dress to actually be like authentic, like a dress, like clothing that moves slowly as she moves. Like that would be really cool.
that'd be dope. I, I'm not gonna lie. So there's a lot of things they could do if the budget is secondary for sure. Um, Continuing on the article, it says, when did that instruction land? We may never know. Josh Diamaro was only officially named the CEO a couple weeks ago, but let's not pretend he just got a map to the building. As chairman of the Disney experiences, it would have had fingerprints all over this project long before any emails went out. Whether the mandate arrived last Tuesday or 6 months ago is almost besides the point because from this moment forward, Villains Land is going to be associated with tomorrow the same way Bob Iger is linked to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Michael Eisner is tied to Hollywood MGM Studios in Animal Kingdom. And while Iger and Eisner contributions were groundbreaking and uh, vital to Disney, villains are in a different league. Villains are Walt Disney's. It also says this land has to hit, not in a big way, in a mind boggling way. It has to overwhelm. So if the rumor is accurate and if Demaro is the one pushing the throttle forward, I am all in. It says the new boss understands the assignment. Beginning your tenure by walking into Imaginary and saying, make it bigger is one of the heck of an introduction. So I'm going to say this to kind of reiterate that because I know a lot of people were scared and concerned when Demaro got named CEO because a lot of people were saying many things. Oh, well, he's a parks guy. He doesn't really know the knowledge of the studio aspect. Then there were other things about the open AI. There was all sorts of things. But we have to remember two things that Josh is good at. One, he knows how to take care of the parks. So when If this becomes true, where they are claiming that budget's going to be secondary and to go bigger on villains, and this is tomorrow's angle on this and probably future projects for both Walt Disney World and hopefully Disneyland with Disneyland Forward. um, I have to tell you, I was actually pretty excited that Tomorrow got named CEO because we haven't had a CEO for the Walt Disney Company that was actually a parks guy since Walt Disney himself. So all the other CEOs we've had, Eisner, Iger, and then I forgot the other ones before Eisner, but they've all been studio people. So it's kind of nice to see what a parks guy is going to lead the company. And we kind of have a suspicion, me and George have talked about this, where hopefully, but obviously there's other areas of the company, but hopefully the parks are a priority. And I'm
And
not
I do
meaning
have to
that,
say too, they did try this once before with a parks person becoming CEO, and that was with Chapek. But
yeah,
here's the thing. But here's the thing, and I'm sorry, I really don't mean to be rude when I say this directed to Chapek. I never really took him as a parks guy. I never did. When they
sure.
moved him to parks, I'm like, why?
Yeah,
He was always a numbers guy. He was in consumer products.
yes.
He never really knew how to adjust to the park. So when they said, "Oh yeah, he's going to become CEO," I'm thinking, "Oh dear God, like how is this going to turn out?" And
Yeah,
sure enough, my concern ended up becoming a reality. So
100%.
the fact that now I do agree with you, conductor. I think now this is legit the first parks guy. Um,
Absolutely.
because as I said, for me, Chapek was never a parks guy.
No,
He always will be consumer products to me.
yeah, and Eisner, for him being a parks guy, he so to clarify that statement, Eisner liked being at Disneyland and showing his face around
But
and hanging
business
out with the
wise, he
crowd.
was a studio. He came from Paramount.
Yes, he came from Paramount, exactly, and Iger came from,
Oh,
ABC.
and Frank Wells came from Warner Brothers.
Exactly my point. So we have Demaro that literally his whole career has basically been parks in a way. So that's kind of where I'm pivoting to. And again, Chapek, I don't want to beat the guy even more when he's already down, but he again, like George mentioned, he was consumer projects or products, and he was a number cruncher, and that's not uh, personally for me. During COVID, I don't know if that was planned or not to have him, thrown in there to kind of save money
I
when
think so. I think
yeah,
honestly they used him as the scapegoat
yeah,
because they knew he was a numbers guy
yeah.
and they needed someone to fall back on. And Chapek was so easy as a target for fans to dislike because no one really cared for him when he was in parks. So they're like, you know what? He's going to be our fall guy.
No,
That's exactly what they used him for.
no, 100%.
But I will say,
Oh, go ahead.
Chapek will forever be ingrained in the Disney parks because he will be showcased as the inspiration for King Thanos in Infinity Defense. So
Yeah, that's literally the only thing. Oh, well, the if you wanna go both sides of the coin here and not just speak positive, but also negative, the reservation system, which everybody hates.
yeah, I feel with the reservation system though, I feel like wasn't just Chapek. I feel
It
like that
wasn't.
was a company wide decision because I feel like Disney even admitted the fact that they were going to eventually go down that route and
Yeah,
COVID just pushed it up.
it well, I'm gonna tell you this, it pushed it up, but also, like George just mentioned, Chapek was the fall guy. for a lot of things Disney wanted to do, like the reservation system, other aspects. And when stuff hit the fan, because I don't want to say the other word, but when stuff hit the fan, Chapek was the blame. Because again,
If you
I've
want to get
always
away with that, I always like to say shiitake mushrooms.
okay, well, shiitake mushrooms. I'll indulge that. No, but 100%. And that New York Times article that I reference all the time, whether we're doing my Conductor Sunday live stream or we're doing videos or I'm on George's channel or other people's channel, that New York Times article, I encourage everyone to go find it online. It's a long read, but it exposed a lot. And one of the things was what I've been saying for over a year now. Iger really never left the company. He was kind of in the foreground playing puppet master behind, making decisions with the board. And when shiitake mushroom decisions hit the fan, I'm going to be honest with you, Chapek was front and center to get blamed for that. But before I play the video, we got Rudio in the house.
Studio.
Rudio said, I had the Flex Pass AP prior to COVID. That was the pilot program for the days we are currently living. And then I want to get to Shane Narani's comment. She said, I wonder when this was said, because this could have been said a year ago or months ago. We are just hearing about it now.
And
So
really quick, I just want to just reiterate. Sean Narani is a he.
oh, I'm so sharp. God, see, I can't even speak tonight. So sorry.
Honestly, this was like him all day. Like he
Yeah.
it was like really trying to like come up with his words. He's just having that kind of day. But you know what? But you know what? I give much respect to Conductor because honestly, he is so driven by his passion for all this stuff. And
Oh,
honestly, if I only went on like 3 hours sleep and then do like 15 hours of content, Lord knows what would be coming out of my mouth.
oh my gosh. Mark McHugh says Michael Eisner now looks like Voldemort in a suit.
I can kind of see it, honestly. Minus, obviously, he has a nose. Like, if you take off the nose,
Yeah.
maybe give him a little bit of like pasty gray color. I can kind of see that.
100%.
Which actually, Michael Eisner was the inspiration for Shrek because when Jeffrey Katzenberg left the Disney studio, he had such animosity that when he created DreamWorks and Shrek was the first movie, supposedly that Eisner was the sculpture for Shrek.
Absolutely. We're gonna get to one more comment before I play one of two videos from In Depth with Graham Bensinger. Big shout out to him for interviewing Michael Eisner. Ryan Turner 5284 says Damaro as a parks guy likely has a understanding of the smaller details, custodial, entertainment, ride ops, and etc. Chapek puts a store into the Main Street Cinema because of his background.
Right. Oh, sorry. And Peter corrected me. Sorry, not Shrek. Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Excuse me.
Gotcha. So, do you have any comment to this statement from Ryan?
But Ryan, welcome in. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to say welcome in. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Damaro, as a parks guy, likely has an understanding of the smaller details, custodial, entertainment, ride ops. That is very true, and I think with Damaro, because he was president of Disneyland for a period of time, he was president of. It was one of the Walt Disney World parks, and I'm trying to remember which one. I can't remember if it was Animal Kingdom. Might have been Animal Kingdom. But yeah, when you are president, you have to deal with a lot more of the smaller details.
Sure.
You know, sometimes small things could come in bigger packages, you know.
No, absolutely, and I completely agree. And again, before I play this video,
And to Ryan's thing, so sorry, at the very end, yeah, when they put a store in the Main Street Cinema, that was all JPEG because that was all consumer products and everything. And I know they did that just for a limited time, you
Sure.
know, when the park started reopening and everything. But like, yeah, that was all JPEG.
Absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out to Graham Bensinger. Again, I'm going to play 2 clips from this interview and stay tuned for the upcoming week where me and George will do a full reaction well, not POV, but a full reaction video on the full interview, which is about an hour and a half with a former Disney CEO Michael Eisner. But this is the first video I want to play. Again, George, at any point, if you want me to stop it, let me know. Here we go.
I don't hear any voice.
Okay, hold on. My fault. Hold on. Time out. Time out. Time out. Let me see.
If I really wanted to be mean, I would have just let the whole thing run, and then you
Yeah.
would have came back and asked me a question about it. I'd be like, I don't know, I didn't hear it.
Oh, that's true.
But
Let,
I'm not that mean. I would never do that.
no. Let me know if you can hear it. Give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Always rewarded in the entertainment business. How so?
Well, I am not patient, so it's something you have to learn. And we do a show called BoJack Horseman. A big hit, great show. Somebody said to me, there's a person that works on a writer's room at a CBS mediocre show. We met him down the hall, and he told my associate his 3 ideas. And I said to him, you got 2 minutes. Which one of those 3 do you want me to hear? And he told me about BoJack Horseman. I'm the only one of the people here thought it was great. So then we decided we would make it ourselves. And we made a 12-minute version of it. And luckily, there was one guy, because everybody else passed, one guy at Netflix that loved it. And it got ordered. And it's become probably their best reviewed show. So patience, which is your question, if we didn't have patience, which I don't have, which I forced myself to have, nothing would ever happen. Because all it takes, if you have 10 people in a room and one person is negative at a buyer, it fails. When I was a buyer, I'd like to think that I wasn't that way. If somebody came in with an idea I liked, this is before streaming, I'd just say yes. And there were only 3 networks or 4 networks. So I had, I just said yes to, 15 different shows, which is why I succeeded, because I was lucky I picked the right ones.
Bob Iger once said, you said, micromanaging is underrated. How so?
Well, I was criticized for being a micromanager, and I would say, well, why hire me? And you can't micromanage when you have 100,000 employees. That's ridiculous. But I was a micromanager in the sense that everything that had to do with taste, whether it was a theme park ride or a new theme park, or the schedule at ABC, or architecture particularly, the CEO should be a micromanager. But you can't really be a micromanager. You have to pick your spots.
Your longtime friend, Barry Diller, he once said about you, he's paranoid. Michael is very suspicious of motives. What do you think the genesis is of that?
Well, it's very competitive in the executive world. And he said to me, this is where it comes from. He said to me, after Charlie Bluhdorn, who was the chairman of Gulf and Western, who we all loved, was replaced by Marty Davis, when Marty died, and I heard it, I called Barry, he was in his car, and Barry's comment was, I hope it was painful. So nobody liked this guy. And Barry said to me one day that Marty wanted me fired. And I said, well, that's not possible. We have 5 shows in the top 10. We've been the #1 movie studio for 7 years.
So I just want to reiterate something, because I've been watching everybody comment when I'm playing this. He does look good for 83. I'm not gonna lie. He's all there, and I love it. you know, obviously I was a very, very young toddler when he was running the Walt Disney Company as CEO, but my God, I don't know. I'm starting to like Eisner better than Iger. I don't know why.
I kind of, here's the thing. It's not that I even really disliked Iger. You know, obviously he's been
Either.
there for many years. He's done great things, but he also has done not so great things. And the
Yeah,
same thing with Eisner. But
sure.
when it comes to the level of understanding us as, and I'm not going to use the term fans because I'm with Theme Park Conductor. I'm going to use his term, investors. I feel like Eisner had a better understanding and approach to giving the fans what they want.
Absolutely. No, 100%.
And
You
you're
guys-
right, he does look really good at 83. It I can't fathom, like, in my mind, like, when anyone says Michael Eisner that he's 83, because anytime that I think of him, I go back to that, how he was in the 90s and what have you, you know. And Kev on the go, welcome in. And yeah, he was actually hated. He was. And I think when Iger came in, I think a lot of those people retracted their thoughts, because it really is true. A lot of times you can't stand somebody, and then someone you think the grass is greener on the other side, and then you're like, oh shoot, like we were complaining about this person and it just became like much worse, you know.
100%.
But especially,
Paramount.
sorry, I know I keep on talking, but especially in Europe, like the French, you know, when it came to Euro Disney, like they were not a fan.
No, not a fan at all. And that's why, I mean, his baby was Euro Disney, which we all know as of today, Disneyland Paris. That was his rubber stamp, his legacy. And a lot of money went into Euro Disney, which kind of defaulted on projects for not just Disneyland and the second park, which originally was supposed to be Westcott and turned into DCA 1.0. But then there were other projects at the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World that suffered because of that as well. So I do agree with Kevin's statement. He was hated, but like George said, not every time when the grass seems greener on the other side is it honestly that truth. It might be duller than you think.
Around.
We were doing well.
And that's a very conservative understatement.
Yeah, but I don't understand why he would want to be fired. I think I learned later that he didn't like the fact that Barry and I shared half of the bonus pool. I don't know. And Barry said, he said to Marty, I'm not going to fire him. And if you make me fire him, I'm quitting too. Not only did he quit, he went to Fox, wanted me to go with him to Fox. And I got a call from Roy Disney, do you have a contract? I said, no, I hadn't left Paramount yet. And the week after I left Paramount, I joined Disney. So I've, you know, one thing, it's good to be lucky.
Why were you the only Hollywood exec to never get invited to Swifty's Oscar party?
Oh my God. I would not let Bob Redford direct Ordinary People, but for the same kind of deal that we would give any first-time director. He was making millions as an actor, and I said, you have to work for scale, first-time director. The guy said, how can you ask this man to work for, I said, because we ask everybody. But on Swifty, so he had a book, maybe it was Rich Man, Poor Man, I can't what the book was. And then I found out he was going to be the producer. And I thought that was a conflict of interest. And I said, no, you're either the agent or you're the producer. You can't be both. And he went to Barry and complained. So Barry said to him, you know, I have to back the president. I can't. So I was bringing television ethics, because television in those days was all the networks, and the networks were licensed by government. And if you screwed around with the government, it didn't end up well. The movie business was, oh my God,
It was really cool.
all for one, you know.
If you could bring up Billy Ride's
Sure.
comment. Eisner also benefited from a time when theatrical and cable was booming. Excuse me. I think they were both good but complicated leaders. This is a really good point, because now it begs the question too, that even to Kev's point, he was hated by a lot of people, and I think Eisner boomed in a way with certain aspects. But do you think that was in the time frame that he was CEO? Do you think Eisner would have been better or worse had he would have been in Iger's position, or even now going into Josh's position during this time and age with technology and AI and social media? Do you think that he could have succeeded or crumbled? Because I also feel to Eisner's credit, he did well, but I also think because he had Frank Wells by his side. When Frank Wells passed, and
Yes.
he had his quadruple bypass surgery, he crumbled. He just could not recover.
No. And to answer the first part of that, I think Eisner would have done well if he was at his age when he became CEO back in the day. If he was CEO now around that same age in today's standards, I think he would have done fine in a way. I'm sure we wouldn't have ran into issues here and there, but I think he kind of led the company. I personally think. But to the second part of that, with Frank Wells passing away, yeah, when Frank Wells and Eisner were together, they were dynamite with leading the company. But when Frank Wells passed, sadly, that's when just things went downhill, and Eisner couldn't. Emotionally he couldn't recover, and because he couldn't recover emotionally because of the friendship and the partnership he had with Frank Wells, everything suffered. Everything suffered. Now, going back to the original comment real quick, because since linear is dying out and streaming is what it is today, I think that might be where Eisner might have some issues, because he did really well with cable. I'm not gonna lie, with the Disney Channel and all that stuff. But now that it's all streaming, and streaming was not really a thing at all during his leadership. So again, I state that there might be some issues. But overall, I think he could handle it for sure. So
And that's why I have good hope with DeMauro and Walden, because now that they're kind of tackling it together, maybe not as co-CEOs
sure.
or dual CEOs, but CEO and president and chief creative officer. That's pretty darn dang close,
Absolutely. 100%.
Just wild. And Barry and I were the first television people ever to go into the movie business. It was then followed by Warner Brothers and everybody else. We were the first. And we got there early in the morning. We worked hard. We wore a suit. We didn't play cards through lunch. And I wouldn't do deals that had conflicts in them.
How about the lengths to which you went to at summer camp when Larry Gordon was walking
Well, he
towards
and I
you?
have a different version of this. I supported him for decades. And when he asked me to direct a film, I thought that was a great idea, because I think he's talented. I'm actually doing a show now with him, so we've made up. But I said to him, you have to work for scale. Bob Redford worked for scale. You have to work for scale. Instead of which he went and made a deal at Universal. So I took all of his furniture and put it out on Melrose Avenue and threw him off the lot. And then he went to a judge and sued us and won. So for the next 2 years, he was still back on the lot. And my wife wrote a television series with his wife. My kids went to school with his kids. They went to the camp with his kids. And he kept trying to make up, and I wouldn't make up. It was I was so upset. And
So that's the first video that I'm gonna play here. So let me exit this out. I want to get to a couple comments before I play the second video. Ma'am Lizelle, she mentioned their successes and failures were part of that reality, and each served their role when they were meant to, contributing to the company. That's what I mean. It was a lot of trial and error back in the day. So there's nothing wrong with that, though. And John said Netflix's business model doesn't work without continuous growth because they don't own any of the warehouses that store their idea. And then we got first of all, we got amusement park pirates in the house. Shout out to them. Absolutely great to see them. Ryan Turner said Euro Disney caused him to panic and make some poor decisions, such as putting Paul Pressler, a penny pitcher, a little parks experience, slashing DCA's budget. Then 9/11 killed tourism.
Yeah, there was just a lot of bad timing stuff, and I agree with Ryan. The Paul Pressler era was horrible. I mean, I remember when the parks weren't maintained, light bulb fixtures were broken, garbage cans were overflown. And this was even before I started visiting Disneyland, but I remember hearing about it and doing my research of the Paul Pressler eras of like what it looked like. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how could anyone even last this long?
That's what I mean. When I mention that Tomorrow is going to be a great addition to CEO, I think absolutely someone that cares so much about the parks, and that's kind of like one of us in a way. I think the company is only going to benefit from it. Kevin mentioned, don't forget Cynthia Harris as well.
Yeah, that's another one.
Ma'am Lizelle said, thank you, Billy. Great things came out of these two CEO errors. I'm grateful. No, absolutely. George, you want to add anything before I play the second clip?
I will say that, like, despite of like the ups and downs of a roller coaster, no pun intended, that a lot of great things did come out. And I mean, look at it, everything that we've been talking about of the Paul Pressler era, and with COVID and the parks closing for how many days, and going into the 2008 recession and everything, and even back in the 80s when Disney almost got broken up into subdivisions as a hostile takeover before Eisner and Wells stepped in. Look at even going back even further to all the challenges Walt Disney himself went through with his studio, gambling his basically his family, his house, for the park and for the studio, and investing everything and going through world wars. And like, again, if for anyone who hasn't watched Disneyland Handcrafted, I highly recommend it. Literally them building Disneyland within a year. While they were doing the grand opening, they were still painting and fixing stuff. Just look at how far the company has come. And there will always be ups and downs. It will always be a roller coaster. That's life. But it's how you finish coming into that train station. No pun intended for Mr. Theme Park Conductor. Absolutely. But yeah, I definitely agree with that.
No, 100%.
Today,
I think the company's in great shape. I think Bob has been an excellent CEO. I'm happy that he was the person that I recommended, that I got it through the board.
Oh, really quick, can you pause that?
Sure.
So John Make It Rain says, George, I don't know how you live with the smoke alarm like that. Let me explain something to you, John. After you have lived with my ex-wife for 10 years, you learn to block a lot of things out. So it's the same case. Although I do like, hopefully it'll get fixed soon. But yeah, in the meantime, I just like I'm so intrigued by the conversation and talking with everyone. Like I don't even like pay attention. And Giant Peter, yep, there you go. There's your ex-wife joke for the night.
There you go.
Board's first choice in the beginning. He ended up being unanimous choice. He came out of ABC. He was a president under me for a decade. He understands the company.
It has to make you quite proud that you got that right, because, you know, oftentimes you have somebody who's successfully run a company for a really long time and the succession doesn't go as well.
Most of the time, succession doesn't go well.
Right.
Most of the time, you know, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. So going to the outside is dangerous. If you have people on the inside that are capable, that's a better way to go. But Bob, his predecessor died. He became
Frank Wells.
Right. He became the number 2 in the company after a mistake, which we've all made. And he was great. He did all the stuff that Frank did and more. And he understood it. And he spent a decade with me and our design people of the parks, and he knew it. It was so obvious. So I think he did a good job.
You think Chapek was given enough time?
That was a marriage made in hell. That was
What?
Bob and Chapek. It just was a mistake, you know. Bob
Really quick,
wasn't
can you
ready
pause that real quick?
to leave.
See, and there's another thing about Eisner. I appreciate his honesty. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to talk like this if he was still under the Disney umbrella, but
Oh,
I appreciate his honesty. You know, he's not sugarcoating it. He's saying it like it is.
no, 100%. 100%. That's kind of what I respect. You know, even with him not under the Disney umbrella, speaking out like this, because I think we all kind of knew it, but from someone that led the company during a point of time and that knew a lot of things, to sit there and come out in an interview and say something like that, that's really ambitious, and I do commend Eisner for saying that. Lene Ward said tourism from other countries to the U.S. parks is going down. I wonder if they're going to try to entice foreign tourism for the next few years, or just focus on building great things and entice locals. Very interesting comment.
Really quick. Keep bring up Ryan's comment. Oh man. George, ex-wives are like hurricanes. They are wet and wild when they arrive, but take your house when they leave. That
100%.
you know what, Ryan? Like that just like
That was awesome.
That was a mic drop right there.
Oh, 100%.
Was going to prove that he was the boss, doing stupid things, not necessary things, separating the distribution from the creative and the movie business, all those things like that. Bob recognized it, couldn't help himself probably in noting it. JP was a mistake. I don't know if I hired him, but I certainly approved him to run home video. He did a great job at home video. He did, I think, a good job with the parks. But he just was the wrong choice. That's all.
I asked this from the lens of when you were hired to run Disney. Initially, they wanted you and Frank Wells to be kind of co-CEOs. The reports are that Disney's now considering a co-CEO post-Bob Iger structure. Apparently, they've consulted Netflix because Netflix is a similar structure. But like, what's your view of that today?
Well, I don't know when you're going to air this, but it hasn't.
It's possible that a decision could have already been made when this airs. Yeah.
I just don't know when you're going to air this, but I want to make it a point that they haven't made a decision.
Right.
It is ridiculous. That is not to run the bakery. It doesn't work.
It is at Netflix, though, apparently.
Well, it's a completely different company. It's a technology company and an entertainment company. And it has been basically co-CEOs, with Reed Hastings being the founder and the guru, and Ted Sarandis. It's not applicable, and I still think it's a bad idea. I think it would be a really big mistake for Disney. Pick the person you think should be the CEO, and hopefully the second person will be to be number 2. And when Frank Wells and I were having that conversation, our first our shareholders wanted a senior share. I think they wanted Co, and then they wanted Frank, and then I said no, and then Frank said Michael should be the CEO. It should be run from a creative point of view. I'll be happy to be number 2. And it was great. And I can't believe I said it, because I don't know if I meant it. I said I wouldn't, because
So that's an interesting statement from Eisner, because even he himself, coming from Paramount and then leading the Disney company and his leadership at a point or time, even he thinks the dual CEO move wouldn't have been bad. And as we see it today, the closest we have is tomorrow CEO, Dana Walden, the CCO, and the president of the Walt Disney Company. So basically, it's a number 1 and a number 2. So that's not a bad thing, but we were kind of hinting at, because we weren't sure at the time that Dana Walden was literally going to even be part of the company. We kind of thought, okay, well, if Iger's leaving, probably Dana Walden's going to leave if she's not named CEO. So in a way, I'm glad they went with the structure they did, but reaching a bigger concern when we're all talking about this all over social media, and I was doing live streams and videos, and I said, well, maybe this co-CEO position wouldn't be bad. I didn't think of the ramifications of what that can lead to. So again, what we have today is probably a better structure than having a dual CEO where you have 2 people that have basically the same title and the same authority over projects, over the industry, over the company in general. So it's kind of a better way that we have this structure than the dual CEO position. But George, what do you think?
Yeah, everything you said, I completely agree with. I think this is a position where it could be better than the dual CEO, just because it's like when they say there's too many chefs in the kitchen. One too many chefs in the kitchen. You can kind of bump heads. I think it worked well for Eisner and Wells, but I'm for sure they have their differences, and even to Walton Roy. And I'm for sure even Josh and Dana is going to. But what I love about this approach is they moved the chief creative officer title off of the CEO role and attached it to the president. And that became Dana's position, basically, as, president and CCO, that, and then she'll, take over for the studio and film and streaming and, television and all that stuff, while Damaro, takes care of, like majority, like every other aspect of it, but I think, he can lean into the parks, and I would think and hope that Damaro would have a say-so of who his successor will be as chairman of parks and experiences, because he's going to want somebody in there that was creative like he was. Even though he's going to be a bigwig, he's still, like, when I say bigwig, I mean like top of the food chain. He's still going to have somebody in there that's more like him and not like Chapek.
100%. And that's something we're waiting for the announcement from Damaro himself. Maybe he makes that announcement on the 18th, which is actually the same day of the shareholders meeting.
I think he is. And honestly, this upcoming D23 event is going to be very interesting, because I really want to see now how they approach with Josh and now Dana. Even back previous D23 events, she was nowhere to be found. She might have been there, but I mean, I think she's going to be headlined a lot, especially when they do the the studio presentation at the Honda Center on that's probably going to be Friday, and then the parks will be on Saturday. Which I think during the shareholders meeting, they're going to have to announce their successors. They have to.
Yes.
They have to do that sooner than later too.
No, 100%. Before I play the video from Tom Corliss and his news organization WDWNT, Ryan Turner says Disney had the push and pull structure with Walt and Roy, or Eisner and Wells. If DeMauro and Walden develop a similar dynamic, it should bring out the best for consumers.
I agree.
I 100% agree with that, because there are things, again, there are things that need to be changed that I think need to be addressed. So we'll just have to see what DeMauro does. But I could tell you this: whoever succeeds DeMauro's parks chairman position, I can almost guarantee that DeMauro will be keeping a close eye on that. For sure,
Oh, he
100%.
has to. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because they can't have no monkey wrenches thrown into that cog. A couple more things. Continuing from Ryan Turner, Iger didn't have anyone playing that role for him, and I think it created blind spots. That's a very good observation. That's a very, especially after coming off of a dual CEO with Eisner and Wells, even though
Yes.
Wells passed and it was just Eisner at the end part. But yeah, Iger was coming in it all by himself for for how long? So he basically had to kind of try to cover both ends of the spectrum.
100%. But one thing I will say about Iger, why he was able to handle the company solo instead of having a dual CEO like Frank Wells and Michael Eisner and even Walt and Roy, was he came from a background where he already knew the studio side of the aspect of the company. Then, as we just heard from Michael Eisner, he was a parks chairman, so he knew the parks as well. So he had the benefit of knowing both sides of the company, two sides of the company that made money and created amazing things for the future. So that's why he didn't have that luxury of having the dual CEO, and that's why Iger left or led the Walt Disney Company solo, is because he came from the studio side compared to DeMauro, which has always been infatuated and incorporated into the park side of the company and not really the studio side at all. So that's why we're seeing, DeMauro as the CEO, Dana Walden as the chief creative officer that's going to oversee the studio side, the streaming side, all that side that DeMauro kind of lacks experience in. And that's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's how it turns out compared to Iger. So
Yeah, absolutely. And one more before you play, Lene Ward's. I just hope they bring the Disney store back to Canada. Give me that merch. I really want them to bring the Disney stores back even to the US.
yes.
And I'm not talking about just a typical Disney store where it has like this modern look. I'm talking about like the classic 80s, 90s, even
love
early
that.
2000s where you had the Disney characters like the sculptures like hanging from the ceiling and on the
Sure.
walls. You'd walk in, you get that whiff of Disney store
Oh, yeah,
smell. And then
dude.
in the center of the store, they had the big plushy mountain with the big screen in the back.
Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you this before I play the video. I'll tell you this: the Disney stores for me were like the the most magical hangout spot. The closest I felt to being at Disneyland is being in those stores. It kind of felt like being at Toys R Us or KB Toys for me back in the day, if anyone remembers those stores. Um, but that's something I would like to personally see. Now, if they brought back the Disney stores, one thing I would say, they would create an area where they can have like a character come out and do meet and greets, like a little area set up, or maybe have like a former Imagineer do a signing or something like that. So that's something I would like to see
Yeah,
if they bring that back.
and I agree. That would be cool because we kind of were touching upon that a little bit, like when we went to Storytellers with Humphrey the Bear about incorporating him either in Grizzly Peak or at Grand Cali, sort of like how they do Bing Bong, at the Pixar Place Hotel. So you can kind of utilize the characters in the Disney store settings. But before you play this, because this just opened up a whole nother thing. So Lene says, I still have my Eeyore from the 90s from the Disney store. That's awesome, Lene. And that literally brought me back to, and this is why I wanted to bring up your comment. Has anyone ever had there was four of them. It was the Winnie the Pooh plushies, but they came with a video cassette of the classic Winnie the Pooh cartoon. So they had Winnie the Pooh, and it came with the VHS tape of Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. Eeyore came with A Day for Eeyore, the VHS. Piglet came with Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and Tigger came with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. I got those. I remember, oh my gosh, I had all four of plushies with the videos. And then I also got the Winnie the Pooh Johnson & Johnson. It was like when I was little. Well, I didn't get it. My mom got it for me when I was little. It was the Johnson & Johnson kids shampoo and body wash, and it had like on top of the head of the bottle was the head of the characters. So they had Winnie the Pooh, they had Eeyore, they had Piglet, and they also had a hand pump of hand soap for Owl.
I remember that. No, awesome stuff. So that would be something very cool to see the Disney stores come back, and I hope they do. But again, I want to give a big shout out to Tom Corliss and his news organization, WDWNT. I'm hoping I run into him at Walt Disney World. We'll have to wait and see. So here we go, folks.
This is News Today with WDW News Today. I'm Tom Corliss of WDWNT.com. Please like this video, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to make sure you never miss the latest from the Disney theme parks all around the world. Real quick, before we get started, I just want to mention, you might be wondering, what is this thing on my desk? Well, we were invited over the weekend to go to the Daytona 500 in honor of the 20th anniversary of Disney and Pixar's Cars. If you'd like to check out more about that, if you head on over to WDWNT POV, there is a vlog of myself and my father. Yes, I brought my father to the media event. You can check out what we did at the Daytona 500. Go check it out. And also, we're going to pop a QR code right here. Walmart was part of the event as well. There is a Cars collection you could purchase at walmart.com. And if you use our QR code, it actually helps to support us here at WDWNT as well. So thanks for watching. And if you like Cars merchandise, thanks for buying. Now the news for February 16th, 2026. After work on the front of Cinderella Castle ramped up last week, the paint has reached the surrounding area of the clock's face. There's also been progress on the back of the castle as the gray has spread across several more of the window trimmings. These areas around the windows appear to be some of the only ones on the backside that still require new paint, as most of the back has already been reverted to the gray color scheme. From the castle's side profile, the variation in gray is well visible, as the color will be a lighter shade the further it travels up the building to create a...
Like that looks like Neapolitan.
It does. It honestly does. But it's funny though, because I told you before we started the live tonight, I actually think at the rapid pace they're going, because the weather seems to be holding just enough where they're like painting at like fast speed. So I'm hoping at least the front part of the castle, because I know you want to film a reaction of me and Tommy seeing Cinderella's castle for the first time. I'm hoping all this kind of pink is gone from the front part of it, not the back part of it, because I could care less about that. But the front part, the photo iconic front part of Cinderella's castle, I'm hoping is done by the time we go.
I'm for sure they will. As you said, they're moving kind of in a rapid pace with this. So I think they're going to want this done sooner than later because they don't want to keep, dwelling on this of like draining, having the moat around the castle drained and having the cranes go up and then back down and up again. And so I think they want to try to get this done as soon as they possibly can. So 100%. I could definitely see by the time we go, I would say either be like 90, 95%, or even maybe 100% completed.
I can't wait.
Version of forced perspective, as was first planned by the designer of Cinderella Castle, John Hench. Work is being done as inconspicuously as possible as not to be obtrusive for the daytime guests, including not getting a crane or any visible work in their photographs. Aerial photos from BioReconstruct on X reveal the newest progress on the land that is set to become Piston Peak National Park. Although we cannot confirm, the new construction hints at a possible track layout or early foundational work for the off-road attraction coming to Frontierland at the Magic Kingdom. The photo here shows an aerial look at.
So I'm actually going to push against this real quick because I don't know. Why would they be building this and it kind of looks like a track layout? Could this be maybe, foundation for, like you like to call from where you came from on the East Coast walking paths, but that's a pretty big walking path and it's pretty wide. I would honestly think that's track layout. What do you think, George?
Well, yeah, and especially like the shape of it, sort of like how it kind of like slithers like a snake. I don't think they would make again, I'm going to use it, my walking path like that. I would think like that seems like it would be a track for like part of the attraction where the car's going one way and then swerving another way. Like that's what it looks like to me.
No, 100%. So interesting.
The development of the future Piston Peak National Park. The newly added concrete forms are at a much lower elevation compared to Big Thunder Mountain, as you can see. So this section of the ride could be used for mechanical purposes or to support the actual ride structure that will be above it and much higher. While it's most likely too early to speculate what these forms are for, it's possible the new concrete forms could point out the possible ride layout. The possible building layout you're looking at now is revealed in a document filed by Disney with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Piston Peak National Park will take up most of the former Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island's footprint as part of the existing Frontierland. Meanwhile, Disney's Villains Land will be north of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and the Haunted Mansion in an area that's mostly currently backstage. In this image, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is in the lower left corner, Big Thunder Mountain in the upper left. If we overlay the Florida Department of Environmental Protection image over the most recent photo by BioReconstruct, you can see where this section of forms and rebar is situated in relation to the existing areas in white and the new ride facility outlined in black, and it somewhat follows the ride path outlined in red on the fun map. Last year, that fun map was released for the Cars-themed area. The map is a type of idealized art that shows an approximation of the layout and theming, but it shouldn't be expected to work like a regular navigational map. There's some things missing, some things aren't to scale, etc. However, laying out a rough outline of the area where the concrete forms are being installed closely coincides with where the track will be for the ride. In a zoomed-in view of the image, some rebar placed vertically can be seen, indicating the beginning of a possible wall or vertical concrete support. In the Cars area is a semicircle-shaped building and two smaller buildings. The space will also have two attractions. The off-road rally race ride will be mostly outdoors, but it sounds like there's going to be an indoor part Disney doesn't want to talk about just yet. And the semicircle building is likely a part of that attraction, and we think where the inside part of the ride will be. The second attraction Disney is not really willing to talk about, but maybe at D23 later this year we'll get to hear what it is. Refurbishment work continues around the Haunted Mansion as more scrim has been added around the building's facade at the Magic Kingdom. This follows Disney filing 2 permits for construction at the ride and then clearing the lawn of shrubs and trees. The scrim has enveloped the rest of the facade since our last update. 2 weeks ago, we reported that scrim had been added around the lower part of the mansion's facade and then was extended. And while the top half of the front was still visible as of last week, that too has now been covered. At certain angles, the scrim is semi-transparent, allowing you to see the shape of the building through the facade, but you can't really see the details. Scaffolding went up in the Q's graveyard in January. More scaffolding covered in green screen went up on the lawn soon after and was expanded, as we just talked about. The Haunted Mansion is open during all of this. It's unclear if at some point in the next couple of years they'll have to close to facilitate some of this work in the area. It's unclear exactly what's going on. I've heard various things. It's to make more queue space. They're fixing the facade because you're going to be able to see around certain sides of it that you couldn't before, now that you can walk around the space that was formerly Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America. Now that you'll see it maybe from parts of Piston Peak National Park, maybe you won't. That's the theory that's out there. As you know, we have to wait and see what it actually is. A recent update to the Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade includes an appearance from Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen during the month of February. The Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade is a short procession at the Magic Kingdom, running along the parade route from Frontierland to Main Street. It runs twice a day at 10:30 a.m. and 11:45 a.m. The cavalcade includes appearances by nearly 30 different Disney and Pixar characters. There's quite a few. The cavalcade has not changed drastically over the years, apart from interchanging a few of the characters. Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon was added in November of 2022, while both Mirabelle and Bruno were added in September of 2023. But Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen are now part of the cavalcade. They'll be there just for the month of February for the Celebrate Soulfully event. Several rare Disney couples made special meet and greet appearances over the weekend at Walt Disney World to celebrate Valentine's Day. Here's who we saw at the Magic Kingdom. Snow White and her prince were meeting guests on Main Street, USA, just outside of the Town Square Theater. No Valentine's Day would be complete without Disney's most iconic couple, of course, which would be Gaston and his reflection. Gaston was walking the streets of Fantasyland near Be Our Guest restaurant. He's walking around the village. Princess Aurora and Prince Philip were waving hello to guests near Pinocchio Village House. They were out by the castle walls. And although not rare characters, Mickey and Minnie rarely meet together at the Magic Kingdom, but for the day they were meeting in the Enchanted Glade gazebo in Valentine's Day-inspired special outfits. Meanwhile, Clarabelle and Horace Horsecollar typically only appear at the Magic Kingdom during special parades and in the Frontierland Hoedown, but for Valentine's Day, the pair were meeting in Frontierland wearing their classic outfits. Can I ask a question? Are they a couple? Have we established that? Like, even in the mythos of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, I don't know that it's insinuated that the...
That is very true. We kind of get mixed messages with Clarabelle, because a lot of times you see her with Horace Horsecollar, but then it was also to the fact that she could have been with Goofy.
Yeah.
You know, but I would think that she would have be a better match for Horace because, you know, he's a horse, you know, she's a cow, you know,
Exactly.
kind of like the same kind of size realm farm animal where Goofy's a dog.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
That's kind of true. It is kind of true.
Two of them are a couple. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, they get associated just because they're like the beyond the Fab Five that always get left out of things. So they've always been, and of course they're barnyard animals. So I don't know. But yeah, are they a couple? Let me know in the comments. I have no idea. And of course, lastly, for the holiday, all about hearts, the Queen of Hearts was out near the Mad Tea Party in Fantasyland. Meanwhile, over at Epcot, there were more rare Disney couples you could find over the weekend. We spotted Aurora and Prince Philip in the France Pavilion along the walkway near the lagoon. We saw Belle and the Beast at the France Pavilion as well. Princess Jasmine and Aladdin can be met as usual at the Morocco Pavilion. And then Mulan and Li Shang were meeting in China. This program is brought to you by our official travel agent sponsor, Be Our Guest Vacations. Your dream vacation begins with Be Our Guest and their concierge team of expert vacation planners. Head on over to www.nt.travel, and their team will design your next magical vacation from the Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resorts to Disney Cruise Line to Adventures by Disney and more. And the best part is their concierge services are 100% free. That's right. So book today. A guest at Epcot entered the restricted Victoria Gardens in the Canada Pavilion and made their way down to the stream as seen in a viral video. Instagram user The Ride View shared a video of the guests dipping their hands and feet in the water. It appears they took off one of their shoes as well. Jonathan said cast members and security responded quickly and the situation was handled without...
So I'm going to state this for a fact. when people bring up on social media or during a live stream, whether it's mine or anybody else's that cover the theme parks and whatnot, like me and George do, and then people ask, why does all the international parks get the good stuff and the domestic parks can't get crap? This type of behavior right here and many other examples that me and George have showcased on both of our channels, this type of behavior from people is why we can't have nice things. That's why if we ever got the world of Arendelle at the Disneyland Resort, we probably would never get the Olaf animatronic. I would be culture shocked if we did.
And if we did, it would only be for like the grand opening for like maybe over the weekend. And then that's it. You'd never see him again.
Exactly.
And it's a shame too. And maybe that's why we haven't really seen any like droids walking around like the ones that they promised to have at Galaxy's Edge or, you know, or something of that matter, because it's people like this that ruin it for everybody, you know,
100%.
and they just do it just to get attention so they could have their 5 minutes of fame, and it puts a damper on it, everything.
Definitely.
On any major disruption. Guests can enjoy Victoria Gardens safely from the walkway and bridges. As always, jumping over railings and fences in the park is not advised, and it can result in you being banned from the Walt Disney World Resort. So don't go do the piggy dipping in the piggy pond at the Canada Pavilion at Epcot. After reportedly running without the teleportation effect for weeks, a cast member confirmed to us that the effect is now restored in the pre-show of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. The second pre-show room of the attraction normally features an effect where you are teleported from the pavilion to a spaceship, which practically translates into the room going black for a split second after a bright flash, which leads to walls quickly moving up into the ceiling to reveal the full room. When one of our staff members visited the attraction multiple times earlier this month, they noticed the effect was not available, but it is back now. I will say, I don't know if there's a worse multiple pre-show setup than Guardians. Like it just feels like you just stand there and you stand there and you stand there. You're like, can I just queue? Can we please just queue? And then it's so annoying. Everyone knows how the ride works. So the whole crowd leaves the first pre-show and they pack into the corner and everyone's ready for the wall to go up. And it's really frustrating. This has got to be, I will tell you, I love Cosmic Rewind. I know everybody does. What keeps me out of there more than the wait time is just the very thought of sitting through those two pre-shows makes me not go in there.
Wow.
Let me know if you feel the same. Following a report from...
Really quick. So I have to say, honestly, I respectfully disagree with Tom on that. I actually don't mind the pre-show.
Okay.
I actually kind of enjoy it. It gives me that sense of sensation thrill that I know what to look forward to. The one pre-show that really gets to me is honestly Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
Where you get that very stoic, very slow talking scientist guy, and you got to stand there on your number and you got to move like this so it links you to the avatar. And then you go into the next room and you see Dr. Jackie Ogden, who's talking about the conservation of Pandora and all that. Like, could we just go into the chambers and like sit on the vehicles and like enjoy the ride? Like,
100%.
that was the one thing, that was the one plus side of during COVID. I'm not saying COVID was a dream, but like it bypassed all that. It was like, because they didn't want people standing around and everything. They just wanted to get people in and out. So they bypassed all that to get you on the ride.
100%.
Plus, on a visible crack in Gertie the dinosaur's tail, the life-size statue at Disney's Hollywood Studios has been patched. How great is this? The crack was where Gertie's tail meets her body. It was made more obvious after nearby vegetation was removed due to the recent freezing temperatures in Florida. The crack has now been patched up, although there's a visible color difference between regular Gertie and where the crack is. It's possible with time this will dry and fade, or maybe they'll...
I just want to say this because this pays homage to Tommy Toon World when he did this to Art the Clown last year at HHN. But Lene Worth said, "We promise we won't try to steal Olaf's nose and ruin it for everybody." I will not try to play the organ in Nautilus and
The
ruin
Nautilus.
it for, not Nautilus and ruin it for everybody. Because if you watch Tommy Toon World's videos from HHN last year, especially the RIP dinner and an interaction he had with Art the Clown on the lower lot, he pretended to take Art's nose, and Art actually kind of reacted. It was really funny. So
I was with him on the lower lot. I was literally
Yeah.
standing right by him when when Art took the hacksaw and was like pretending like he was like like when you get the performers that really like play into what you're doing.
yeah,
And because there are times where the team member that's accompanying Art,
yeah,
at first they're almost like they're about to stop Tommy because they thought he was actually going to touch him.
yeah.
And then when they saw like he was going for the nose, then they're like, okay, we're backing off, we're good.
100%. Lene Ward said, okay, can we pretend to take his nose, but we won't steal it? Oh, I'm sure you could. But compared to what Tommy did at HHN, which is more of an edgier event, I would just tell a cast member what your intentions are so they don't have security like jumping on you. I'm just going to be honest with you.
And Lene, here's the thing. If someone was to take Olaf's nose and run off with it, would that classify as being a runny nose?
Hey, I like that. See, that's what I mean. George with the spot on comments. Animaniac 2122 asked, has Josh commented on DCA Pandora yet? George, take it away real quick before.
Well, welcome in Animaniac 2122. Always glad to see you. As of right now, no. The last piece of, well, I guess you can't even really call it news, but when Abby and I went to D23's 25th anniversary spotlight series at the Disneyland Hotel last weekend, I believe, one of the Imagineers mentioned that because she's working on the Pandora project, and she just said, news is coming soon. And no more news than that. It's the same concept art that we got from 2 years ago and nothing more, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get something more at this upcoming D23 event. That's going to happen in August. I'm hoping. If we don't, I don't. But the one thing that they did clarify is Pandora is still going into Hollywoodland, or at least the backlot area. They did confirm that.
So that's justification. It's just how big it's going to be, how many attractions it's going to have, and what the layout's going to be. We still are uncertain on that.
Work on it a little more. This was maybe just a quick patch job for the time being, but it does mean again that Disney is listening. They saw the post about Gertie being cracked and they fixed Gertie. Of course, we love Gertie here at WDWNT, so happy to see her back to health.
I'm sorry that I have to say this one too, because I said the runny nose joke. So Mark and Lene, here's another one. If someone was to take Olaf's nose, and obviously his nose is made out of a carrot, and they throw it, does that classify as it being a toss salad?
I like that. Dang, George is on one tonight. I love it.
What appears to be significant mold has built up in the Lightning Lane queue of Slinky Dog Dash at Disney's Hollywood Studios. There's also cracked paint. There are gross brown spots all over this Slinky Dog mural, which acts as a wall of the queue. The mold stands out against the white of Slinky's eyes and the white lettering. Mold develops in warm areas with moisture. As for the paint, some sections have completely peeled away. And while the peeling paint on the corner of the wall is more par for the course, there are badly cracked.
Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. I'm actually talking about an actual toss salad that you mix in a restaurant. I know what you guys are thinking that I was saying, not that toss salad.
Oh my God.
Crack sections on flat parts of the wall as well. What I can say about this is since Toy Story Land opened in 2018, we have been meticulously following. One other thing
I actually wanted to mention about the like the cracks and everything Do you think that they could purposely be leaving that, and then when Josh comes in, he'll just go full blast and like
Possibly.
fix all
But-
that stuff? So it's kind of like a PR stunt kind of thing for Josh.
Maybe, but it would be different if it was just paint cracking on the signage. But when you have mold, that needs to be addressed immediately. That can't linger.
Oh yeah,
That's
no,
all
if it's actually mold, yeah, mold has to be taken care of because that
ASAP.
doesn't just ruin the foundation, but that could start affecting people's health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maintenance, because the land was just not built the best. There were a lot of suspect choices in materials. There are a lot of suspect choices as to what's exposed to the elements, things of that sort. And so I'm not surprised to see this, but man, they've got to keep up with it because it looks gross. Disney Experiences chairperson and, oh, by the way, soon to be CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Josh D'Amaro, was instrumental in experience updates coming to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run at Disneyland Park and Hollywood Studios. Marcus Buckingham of Harvard Business Review shadowed D'Amaro for a day at the parks.
No, I
interviews
thought
at his offices and Walt Disney Imagine.
That's what I thought.
Did you hear it? Okay, so it's not just me.
No.
I thought he's. Wow, I was like, Tom, dang.
100%.
During design sessions, he joined a meeting between D'Amaro and 30 Imagineers talking about Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. And regarding the existing ride, D'Amaro said, guests like it, but they don't love it. He pointed out that the ride's pilots mostly controlled the experience while the gunners and engineers were more passive. So the Imagineers planned an update that will give each rider more agency and the chance to influence the story, all part of the Mandalorian and Grogu mission, which launches May 22nd, 2026. Disney is a delicate brand, D'Amaro told Buckingham. Anything I can do to help more guests say they love Disney is a valuable use of my time. Buckingham described this approach to leadership as experience intelligence, or the ability to read and shape the human experience. It's what makes D'Amaro beloved by guests and employees, which Buckingham saw firsthand in the parks. He said cast members felt seen, trusted, capable, and proud of what they were a part of. Beyond employee interactions, experience intelligence also means recognizing that the most powerful experiences are those which the person says they love, not like, not respect, not learned a lot during, and not really enjoyed, but truly something that they loved. I think this is a great sign. That's what I want to hear, is that we're not aiming for good, we're not aiming for great, we're aiming for exceptional. And I mean, that's the signs are there. Big Thunder Mountain, Buzz Lightyear, Carousel of Progress, this Millennium Falcon update. These are things that needed TLC. In the case of Falcon, it wasn't so much TLC that it's an old ride. It was more that it just wasn't what guests wanted. It wasn't a great experience for everybody, and people were tired of that single mission, I think. And so that's what we've seen a lot during these last couple of years under Josh D'Amaro at Parks and Resorts. And I think you're going to continue to see that with him as CEO, that they're paying attention. They're watching what we say. They hear us. They hear the cast members, and they're going to address many of those things. And I think we're seeing that pattern here. Talked about Cinderella Castle earlier.
And that kind of goes
in this
back
show.
to what we were saying with villains. You know, how they're saying, okay, they're kind of scrapping the original plans and they're going bigger, bolder, greater. So if that is the case, then yeah, it's all falling on D'Amaro's watch.
Exactly.
All these things point to that for sure. But that's what I want to hear is that they don't want to hear that a guest likes something. They want to hear that guests love something. That's a good sign for me. We'll see if it pans out, but I think it's on the right course. Talking about things guests love, well, here's something I don't like. Brick removal began a week ago above the entrance archways of the former Muppet Vision 3D at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but now crew members have removed bricks from two edges of the adjacent clock tower and a large rectangular section below the clock. During our visit today, crew members in a lift appear to be removing even more. The removal appears to be in preparation for new decorative elements that'll be added to the building. Concept art depicts the building with a brick facade, but with a new marquee and clock tower decorations. The rectangle of missing brick appears to correspond to a new sign that'll be added to the tower. The theater will become the Globe, if the art is correct, a play on Shakespeare's Globe Theater. It'll get a new green marquee, while the clock tower we'll get an element inspired by monster eyes and teeth. Behind the clock tower, crews have also been removing vent covers. One is completely gone and another has been reduced to a frame. Some paneling was removed from the theater wall below as well. Though Muppets Courtyard will soon be Monstropolis, the Muppets will return to Hollywood Studios this summer when they take over Rock and Roller Coaster. Of course, we're saying goodbye to Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Just a couple days left of that. And do not forget about our sweet, emotional farewell tour. But you guys saw the commercial already. We plugged it already. We'll keep moving. Thanks to BioReconstruct on X, we now know that both Aladar and Dino Sue have been removed from the former dinosaur courtyard in Animal Kingdom. He also snapped some shots of the rest of Dino Land as the former land becomes the tropical Americas. The entire courtyard in front of Dinosaur has been demolished. Aladar, the reflecting pools, and the planters that surrounded him are all extinct. The dinosaur marquee featuring the Carnotaurus and the meteors is safe for now, although likely be removed very, very soon, as Disney has got to get cracking on turning this building into a Mayan temple for the Indiana Jones ride. For comparison, here's what the courtyard looked like before the demolition. Aladar had greeted guests since the year 2000, when the original Countdown to Extinction became Dinosaur. If you want to know the full history of the ride, we do have a video over on our Parkive channel. Be sure to check that out. After being marked for demolition, the replica of Sue the T-Rex has been removed from the pathway walking towards Dinosaur. However, her pedestal is still there at this time. The original Sue fossils were discovered in 1990 by Sue Hendrickson in the Black Hills of South Dakota. It is still the largest and most complete T-Rex specimen ever found. And after a legal battle regarding ownership of the fossils, they were ultimately sold for $8.3 million at auction in October of 1997 to the Field Museum of Natural History with the help from Disney Parks and sponsor McDonald's. Some of the preparation of Sue's fossils took place at Dinoland USA in the Fossil Preparation Lab, which was open to guests from 1998 to 2000. Disney made their own cast of Sue to display, while the original went off to the field, where it can still be seen today. Meanwhile, the Trilobite sign has been removed from the building, which you can see here. Deconstruction is happening quickly now that the land is completely closed. At this time, the area near Restaurantosaurus is relatively untouched. We have heard, though, that the interior of Restaurantosaurus is completely barren at this point. They gutted it quick. The overall building structure is expected to remain, with possible additions and a reimagining as a large hacienda, which will be one of the largest quick-service restaurants in all of Walt Disney World. It's expected to serve Colombian-inspired dishes, which Disney has been testing around Animal Kingdom for several months now. The walkway that previously divided the two sections of construction is now gone. There is an excavator on top of broken concrete that used to be the path, and the future carousel is located to the right. Since our last aerial update, more structural framing has occurred for the carousel, which will feature wood carvings of favorite Disney animal characters. Towards the middle, a smooth layered circle shows where the base of the carousel will go, with utility conduits being placed directly in the middle. There also appears to be concrete forms placed nearby that could end up being the queue for the attraction. Several weeks ago, framing of the Encanto ride building began, with interior framework beginning shortly after. We've been monitoring the roofing elements, which are now being added to the lower level of the building, which could be the interior queue. BioReconstruct also caught the second-to-last piece of structural frame being moved and added to the building's frame. The photo you're looking at now shows the beam being slid into place by crew members. Though it's just a frame for now, the Encanto ride will eventually have a casita facade. The ride will be set during the film, although it will go beyond the original story. Dinoland USA closed in phases from January of 2025 to February of 2026. And now, again, Tropical Americas will open in 2027. For Valentine's Day, cast members at Disney's Animal Kingdom provided their family of otters with a special enrichment to celebrate the day. Thanks to Instagram posts from Dr. Mark Penning, the Vice President of Disney's Animals, Science, and Environment, viewers can watch as otters Kevin and May celebrate Valentine's Day with their pups. The animal nutrition team at Animal Kingdom provided the family with heart-shaped ice treats, and they were quick to enjoy. Clamshells were also provided to encourage their natural foraging behaviors, and Disney also provided a Valentine's greeting from Kevin and May. Meanwhile, Tucker, the first Maasai giraffe born at Disney's Animal Kingdom since 2021, has recently celebrated his first birthday. He made his debut on Kilimanjaro Safaris around Earth Day of last year. Tucker celebrated his first birthday with a special enrichment created by his keepers at that Animal Nutrition Center. Disney shared a video that details his birthday treats, such as giraffe-friendly cupcakes and a birthday cake. The Maasai giraffe is classified as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, with around 30,000 Maasai giraffes remaining globally. Tucker's birth supports the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Species Survival Plan, which focuses on maintaining genetic diversity and helping protect giraffes from extinction. It's worth mentioning that Tucker can be seen on Kilimanjaro safaris only and not on the savannah at Animal Kingdom Lodge. His mother, Mara, first joined the savannah in 2015 and has given birth 3 times now. Her first calf, Jabari, was born in 2019. Tucker's milestone comes as the Disney Conservation Fund celebrates 30 years of supporting wildlife and habitat protection. Disney's Blizzard Beach Water Park is now open once again after its seasonal refurbishment at Walt Disney World. With the park's opening comes the closure of Typhoon Lagoon, but both will be open together later this year. As of Sunday, Blizzard Beach is open for guests looking to enjoy some time at a Disney water park. The park's hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Hours may be adjusted for weather. They may also close some days during the winter season due to cold weather. As previously announced, Typhoon Lagoon Water Park closed on February 14th for its seasonal refurb, but again, it'll be back for Cool Kids Summer, which runs from May 26th through September 8th. Disney Store has shared a sneak peek at the first new Star Wars merch for May the 4th, and it's the BDX droids as toys. The BDX droids are a quartet of self-walking animatronics named Red, Grek, Oscar, and Besh, based on their main colors. They first debuted at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland in October of 2023 with a playtest, and they later made limited-time daily appearances for Season of the Force 2024. They've sailed on the Disney Wish. They visited Tokyo Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. They roamed Batuu East in the summer of 2025 and even appeared at Jollywood Nights 2025. They've been all over the place, and now they're going to Shanghai for a limited time as well, by the way. But now you can take home your very own set of these BDX droids from the Droid Factory, which will be available at the Disney Store on May the 4th. We assume it'll also be at Disneyland and Walt Disney World in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland Park has reopened after its 3-week refurbishment. It was closed since January 20th of 2026. During the ride's closure, we saw crew members refreshing the ride's exterior, and though crew members said there would be a new theme to some elements, there were no visible exterior changes. What we heard was one of the elevators during the ride portion that takes the transport up and down. One of those was out of commission for a while, so the ride capacity was very low for a period. And this refurb was really focused on making that elevator work again. But that's purely what we heard through the grapevine. But either way, the ride is back. It does look exactly the same as before, but everything seems to be operating. A new Women Who Make the Magic guided tour is coming to Disneyland for Women's History Month. We saw a sign inviting guests to inquire about the experience at the tour garden at Disneyland Park. However, the tour is not yet available to book, and details are very slim. I don't know why they have this sign out if they have no information, but guided tours are usually 90 minutes to 2 hours and often include a souvenir. Pricing is upwards of $100 depending on the tour. We'll give you more information on this new one when we have it. Frozen Ever After opens with World of Frozen on March 29th, alongside the rebranding of the Walt Disney Studios Park to Disney Adventure World. As we near the opening date, some media outlets have been given the opportunity to share photos from inside the attraction. Thanks to DLP Works on Instagram, we have compiled a look inside the attraction's queue and on board the ride. The majority of photos shared come from sortiraparis.com, who posted the first images and revealed that the songs will only be played in English, which frustrated French-speaking fans all over social media.
So I want to ask you, since that was stated, and we talked about earlier how Eisner built, Euro Disney, which again is Disneyland Paris, and that pissed off a lot of French and Paris locals. You think this is going to piss them off because it's not in French? Or
I mean, it seemed like it upset them, but I don't know if it would actually go to that far extent. I do know that for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure done at Epcot, there's certain scenes in the ride where they speak French. And it goes back to English. So it's kind of like in that same aspect where it's just the songs. So
Sure.
I think it's kind of like a compromisation where, you have the songs in English, for the international visitors. And then when they speak, it's in, the French language. I mean, I can understand their frustration with it, but I mean, I feel like it's not really, to me anyways, it's not that much different than them adding French dialogue in Remy's Ratatouille Adventure over at Epcot.
100%.
The world of
And
Frozen
then,
transports you
really
to
quick, and then just to kind of recap everything that was mentioned, I am so glad that Disney is like moving like full throttle on Tropical Americas. The fact that they already have the Grand like dug up like in front of Dinosaur like is amazing. They started on the carousel. They put the last beam in Encanto. I'm for sure when we get down there, who knows? I mean, work is probably going to be even farther than what it is now. So I can't wait to see the progress of what it looks like in person. And then at Hollywood Studios, as much as people, you know, it saddens like to see them, you know, dismantle things from the Muppet building, but I look at it as they do that, that means we're one step closer to Monsters Inc. So
Absolutely.
I'm very excited for that. Now I have a question for you with Monsters Inc.
Sure.
Do you think that the whole land is going to open together or it's going to open in phases? And actually, same question for Tropical Americas. Do you think, well, actually, no, I take that back. For any of the new projects, Piston Peak, Villains Land, Tropical Americas, and Monsters Inc., do you see any of them opening up in phases?
So first of all, I'm gonna play the video with no sound so we could just finish the rest of it. But the start with Magic Kingdom though, I'm gonna tell you this. I think what's gonna happen is I think Piston Peak is gonna open up. It's gonna open up, and then walls are gonna be surrounding the backside of Piston Peak, and we won't be able to go into Villains. So that's for Magic Kingdom. When it comes to Hollywood Studios, and again, I can only speculate because the trip I'm going on with George in about 2 weeks is going to be literally my first time going to Walt Disney World, so I can only speculate. But from aerial photos, courtesy from BioReconstruct and all the Florida vloggers out there that are covering these projects, I think what possibly could happen, they could push even harder and have Monstropolis open. But when it comes to the roller coaster, the door coaster, I think that might open at a later date. I think that's kind of questionable because we kind of saw with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge where they just opened up with Millennium Falcon and it kind of left a sour taste in people's mouth. They're like, oh, this is it. And then as soon as Rise of the Resistance opened, obviously there was a spike in attendance in that area, but it kind of died off because everyone else has already seen the entire land. So that's kind of questionable how Monstropolis is going to open up. Now with Tropical Americas, because a lot of movements happening. It's not just one little area. I think that will open up in phases.
Okay. Yeah, I think out of everything, I would say Tropical Americas would open up in phases because then you would probably open up the carousel, the restaurant, and maybe Encanto, and then maybe Indiana Jones later,
Sure.
or maybe Indiana Jones and the ride, or Indiana Jones, the restaurant, and maybe the carousel and Encanto later.
Well, I'm going to tell you this though.
I really wish they would just open everything at once because that would be easy on us.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, I could say out of all the projects, I could see Tropical Americas opening up in phases.
100%. One thing I will tell you, and before I continue, I want to give a big shout out to Tom Corliss and his news organization, WDWNT, for providing that video for all of us. One thing I will tell you is because when you look at the Indiana Jones attraction, what Dinosaur is the same ride system that Indiana Jones is going to use. So they're basically reskinning the inside and they're reskinning the outside. So I actually kind of think that they could possibly finish the Indiana Jones attraction before they finish Encanto. Because it's a lot of reskinning.
Yeah, but do you think Indiana Jones could possibly get done before Encanto because of that?
It's a possibility because the layout, I don't think the track layout is going to change. Obviously the scenes, the animatronics, the sound effects, all that stuff is going to change. The outside of the building is going to change. Um, but since they already have the track laid out set in stone and they use the same ride vehicles as what we have out here at Disneyland with Indiana Jones, I think they're already like halfway there with that project. It's just a lot of reskinning that they have to do. So I think it is a good possibility compared to Encanto, where they're building it from the ground up.
And I think that's why they started on Encanto first, and they kept Dinosaur open for a little longer because that way it allowed people to, it's a people eater, no pun
Sure.
intended. Um, but yeah, so it allowed them to get a step further with Encanto, and then so that way by the time they're done with Dinosaur, Encanto will almost be completed as well.
Oh, 100%. And I want to give a big shout out to Ryan Turner. He said, Conductor, I saw that Sweethearts reaction video. I did it with OG the other night. It says, you better get started on that coffee fund for the Disney Channel night. No kidding. Even though I don't drink coffee, I am going to have to start a fund. That just means more dollars for Starbucks.
I
And
think honestly, I think probably I would have to start that fund because here's why, because I said that I'm not doing any of the events this year.
sure.
I did Sweethearts Night. I'm doing the 70th year event with you the day
Yeah.
before we go on the trip. I'm doing Disney Channel night and I'm doing Star Wars night. So I'm basically doing every single event this year. When I said that I'm doing none, I'm doing
Yeah.
none. It always
Hey,
happens. I say I'm doing none, and then I end up
exactly.
doing them all.
Crazy. And then Ryan Turner also said, I agree. They have all electrical and plumbing there. It should go fast. He's meaning about the Indiana Jones attraction. No, absolutely. Because, like I said, it's a lot of reskinning. The infrastructure is already there. Mark McHugh says, I think they're trying to fit Indiana Jones in the Animal Kingdom is awkward. It will be a rad ride, but it won't work thematically. George, what do you think about that?
See, the thing with me is I'm very excited about it. It's a new maybe storyline with Well, I'm not maybe. It is going to be a new storyline with Indiana Jones. I just kind of feel like that was kind of like the easy cop out. They're keeping the same ride system, the same ride vehicles, same layout as even out here at Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland. It's the same track layout. But so now they're just going to have two Indiana Jones rides. I wanted something a little bit different, something a little more, I don't know. And honestly, I thought if they were to do something with Indiana Jones, they would have done it over at Hollywood Studios, not Animal Kingdom. And quite frankly, the type of ride that's going on with Indiana Jones, I felt like that was for Disneyland.
Yeah.
I didn't really want it anywhere else.
No, 100%. But see, even with Dinosaur, though, the same ride system is what Indiana Jones is. So again, do I think it's a cross-cutting measure? Possibly, but I can't swear on that. Who knows? It could be. To be honest with you, I don't like the fact, but if that means more of a budget for Villains Land, I'm all for it. And I'm just being realistic. I want to give a big shout out to Hidden Geek Village, always a loyal supporter of Theme Park Conductor and Hollow Gelato. Always great to have them in the live stream for the $5 super chat. They say, I don't know if you guys covered this by Villains Land supposedly getting an upgrade. Yes, we did cover it actually, Hidden Geek Village, and we actually stated that someone that is a reliable source put a post on X stating that tomorrow is asking Imagineering to go back to the drawing board and make the land more bigger, more thematical, more spooky, and really kind of deep dive into the Disney villain theming. So we did cover that in this live stream, but I'm super excited. Like I said, when it comes to, Dinosaur being reskinned to Indiana Jones, I do agree with Mark. It's going to be an awesome ride. Does it work thematically? That's borderline. Don't know. Yeah, no, maybe. But if that means doing a reskin job on a current or former attraction to make it something else and saving money there, and then really putting in a huge budget for Villains Land, I'm okay with that. Because like George mentioned, we've been wanting a Villains Land for what, 2 decades, maybe even
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah, that was during like the early like Microsoft,
Oh,
computer,
geez. Oh my
with
god. Bringing
AOL
me
and
back.
everything.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're bringing me back to that. Oh god, dial up, all that stuff,
Yeah.
AOL.
Remember that like the sound when you turn on your computer, the dun dun dun,
Oh yeah.
and
100%.
the you've got mail. It's
Yep,
like,
I remember all that, dude. Oh my gosh, bring me back. Um, two more things I want to bring up for this live stream before we head out tonight. One of them, we're going to talk at the very end because that's going to be a little lengthy conversation. But I want to give a big shout out to Jack from DSNY Newscast. He put a post on X saying Disney recently announced that the final beam had been put in place for the Encanto attraction. Judging by this aerial image, guessing that was in relation to the only right portion of the building, as the final third and the Q section of the building is yet to be constructed. And we saw a post from Disney where they had Imagineers that work at Animal Kingdom signing that last beam being put into place. So that's always a awesome feeling to see that, because that just means we're getting that much closer to the next phase of construction. We saw it here at Avengers Campus at DCA with the same thing for Infinity Defense. So that was very cool to see. And then also I want to give a big shout out to Bio Reconstruct. I don't know who they are, but just some of the aerial footage we get on X is just absolutely phenomenal. So big shout out to Bio Reconstruct. If no one is following them on X, I encourage you to do so, because they put out some amazing footage, especially of all the construction happening at Walt Disney World. But the final topic we're going to talk about tonight, me and George were kind of breaking this down. HHN, baby. We gotta love it. HHN. We're already starting that season earlier and earlier. It
we
seems
just ended the Halloween season and
I
then
know.
Christmas, and now we're back to Halloween again. Basically, that's
Unbelievable. But I love it. I love it. But as many of you probably don't know, or maybe do know, me and Tommy Toon World have been going to HHN opening weekend. Our plan is always the same. First night we do the RIP experience, where it's you get valet parking, you get a special credential badge and lanyard, you get an hour-long buffet. You also get a cash bar at that buffet. You get a special line for each house and the shows that are at HHN. It seems like to me the last couple years that I've taken Tommy, especially for the RIP tour guests, they usually try to they usually try to make it where if they see like a group of us in the RIP tour line, usually they'll stop the general emission line. They'll stop the uh, uh I can't even speak, the express line, and they'll wait until that line kind of gets like almost quarter way, if not halfway through the house, and then they'll let us RIP guests go in, and it's a whole different experience. I kind of feel like the scare actors, they see our RIP tour credentials, and they kind of, really play the role really well, and I love that. It's just kind of adding to that value. And actually, Hollow Gelato, he actually wants to join me and Tommy, him and his wife Abigail, for this plan. So our plan is first night RIP tour, second night, which is Saturday, or no, Friday, which would be the general admission early access. The third night, which would be Express Unlimited with early access. So I can't wait to have George, because he's been telling me the last couple years, I want to do that RIP tour experience. Me and Abigail watched your footage, watched Tommy Toonworld's footage, and we're intrigued. We want to do it. So they're going to be joining me and Tommy this year for our crazy wild experience, but I cannot wait. But George, first of all, if you want to tell people right off the bat what you're excited for that RIP tour experience, and then we'll start going down the list of what we think the houses are going to be this year.
Absolutely. Well, first off, when it comes to the RIP tour, it's sort of like how you and Tommy are with Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando. You're not too familiar with it, and I'm going to like take you guys through the whole motions, where I feel like with the HHN RIP tour, the roles reversed, because
Yes.
you both have done it, and I've been kind of doing my research through you guys and watching your shorts, your videos, your vlogs, just your reviews on it. And I thought, okay, I have to experience this for myself, because I'm intrigued. I want to see, because I've been to HHN many times, by using the like the higher end pass, where you can kind of skip through the regular baseline using the express. And I've done the basic, just the normal standard line. But now I thought, okay, I want to do the creme de la creme. I want to do the RIP tour with you and Tommy. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what is in store. Yeah, and Abby,
You're doing the RIP tour, Abby. I'm making you. You don't have a choice. You're doing it.
here's the thing: a conductor is very he's when he has his mind set on something, and he would like someone to do it. I wonder to see how well he can guilt trip Abby into going.
Oh,
So
it's pretty simple.
we'll see how that goes.
My mind tricks run deep. Let's put it that way.
That's funny, but no, I mean, just speaking for me, as I said, I don't know how it's going to go with Abby, but yeah, with me, I'm very intrigued. I'm very excited to see, and as I said, so she says she'll go to HHN with the general admission.
Oh, come on.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah, I'm just, and especially like with the possible houses, I'm very, because you mentioned a buffet, and I'm like, okay, like I'm very curious to see like what they have to offer, and like because you said Art the Clown came in and interacted with you guys,
He
like
did.
on a kind of like a one-on-one kind of thing, which is very, because you don't get that in the park. I mean, you can get some interaction with him, but there's
Sure.
so many people, and he's like stop and go kind of thing.
Well, see, it's very interesting you mentioned that, because I mentioned it to Tommy, and I asked a team member. I asked multiple team members, because I got multiple different answers, but what I concluded, it seemed like that they had a scare actor interacting with the guests during the dining experience, but it hasn't happened since the event either started at Hollywood, or they brought it back when John Murdy was the creative director, and still is. So I'm not 100% sure when they had a scare actor in there. I do know right when you go into the little courtyard area before you enter the dining location, it's like the little patio area that kind of faces Parisian or no, Front Street. They usually have like a photo op, and usually they'll have a scare actor there take a picture with you. But this is the first time that I'm aware of. Maybe anyone in the comments can clarify, but that's the first time I'm aware of they actually had a scare actor in the dining room interacting with guests as guests were eating. So that was very cool to see. I hope they bring that back because that brought a lot of kinetic energy. Now, when it comes to the buffet, because now I've done storytellers twice with George and Abigail, um, the buffet is not disappointing. It's really, really good. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's not as lavish as maybe storytellers, but it's pretty damn close. So I think you'll enjoy that. And like I said, we get our own private cash bar, so you can get alcohol and whatnot. They have plenty of drinks like water, bottles of water, and cans of soda. So they have that. They have lemonade. They have some other drinks as well. So I think it's definitely worth the value for sure. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think you'll love it. It is on the pricier point, but again, I do it because I love it. I do it because it's for content purposes. So, um, I love doing it with Tommy every year. So it's like our Super Bowl, basically. We love doing it. So it's a great time. But George, I'm going to ask you straight off the bat. This right here, this first logo. Okay. I'm going to give my opinion, and I'll go to your opinion next on this first house. This one has been rumored to be Jack the Clown, from Orlando, and Hollywood Harry, which is our icon mascot here in Hollywood. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there have been like talks about Jack the Clown coming to Hollywood. They just weren't sure of like how they would do it and in what format, especially after bringing Art the Clown, from Terrifier, and how they utilized him in the house aspect, and then also a roaming character. So I'm very curious to see how they approach Jack the Clown, and then adding Harry Hollywood, or Hollywood Harry, excuse me, to the mix. I think that would be really interesting as a house, if that's what it is, which it looks like that's what it is for sure.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. I will tell you, we did have Jack the Clown on the Terror Tram years and years and years ago, way before I started going in 2015. I think was my first year. So I think they had Jack the Clown before that. Just one season. So it'll be interesting to see him interact and kind of be in the house with Hollywood Harry and those two battling each other, because the closest you can meet Jack the Clown without going to Orlando during HHN is actually in Las Vegas at the new experience they just built. Was it in 2024, which was Horrors Unleashed in Area 15. So that was very cool. Me and Tommy did a lot of content there. I definitely encourage you to go check that out on both my channel and Tommy Toon World's channel as well. But that's the closest you can see Hollywood Harry without flying back east during October. But it's going to be very curious to see how they incorporate him and Hollywood Harry into a house. The second house is, it's a
That's
dead,
pretty much a given.
yeah, Stranger Things season 5, because we just wrapped up the final season of Stranger Things from Netflix, and Universal do have a long collab working together to bring properties to HHN. So I'm very excited. We've had Stranger Things in the past, but this is now going to be based off the final season of season 5. But George, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think like this was on everybody's radar. I know Mademoiselle was really looking forward to, if they was to bring Stranger Things back to HHN, that's where she would be intrigued. So I know for a fact she would definitely want to go just for that house alone, because she's a huge Stranger Things fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think for how popular the franchise is and how they summed it all up with season 5, I think it's only appropriate, honestly, to bring it back to HHN.
100%. And then before I continue on the next house, Lene Ward said, "Is it true Pokemon is coming to the Universal Parks in the States?" I think it is true. Obviously, when it comes to Pokemon, it's probably going to be Orlando first, and then it'll come to Hollywood because there are areas that they are scoping out for Orlando for Pokemon. So it probably will be in Florida first before it comes to California and Universal Hollywood. And Madame Lizelle says, "Yes, I will go to HHN for Stranger Things." Absolutely. I love when Madame Lizelle is with us in the park, especially during HHN. It's so much fun.
Oh my gosh! Would you put her and Abby together when going through these houses? As I said, like I like when I'm like recording. As I said, anyone could go back onto my last year's vlog, and I think it's Poltergeist. Abs, correct me if I'm wrong if it's Poltergeist or not, but yeah, you could hear in the background that they're both like pushing me to go, and I'm like whoa, you're pushing me, like I'm trying to like record, and it's like because they're trying to rush into the next room to get out, but
yeah,
oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
oh gosh, it was hilarious. So the next house is what we kind of insinuated. People have been wanting it for years as well. Is Hellraiser. So Hellraiser is going to make, if this is what it is, it's going to make a first time appearance at HHN. I'm super excited for it because the Hellraiser movies kind of give you that creepy, weird vibe. So I'm very curious how they're going to incorporate that.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna have like a very kind of like horrific, trippy vibe.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be very very interesting to see how they incorporate that. And then before we get to the next house, Animaniac 2122 says, "I hope Universal doesn't do clones of Pokemon, make the lands unique." 100%.
I second that.
I third that because you know what? I said even with Darkmoor, which again, I'm super excited to see that during the day and night. I cannot wait to see that in Epic Universe. I said if we get a West Coast version of Darkmoor, I would hope it would be twice as big and very unique to Hollywood, especially since the Universal monsters were born here in Hollywood and not Orlando. So I would kind of hope we get the land and it would be twice as big and very unique. So we'll have to wait and see. But this next icon with the dancing skeletons, I know
one I'm not too if it is what I think it is, I'm not too happy about it. But
yeah, so a lot of people are hinting at Lady Gaga. So this would be a music.
Which, by the way, I have to say, I am a huge Lady Gaga fan.
Yes.
I do love her craft as a performer, as an artist. I do love her music. She has great dancing music. Obviously, we're going to be playing some of her songs at the wedding, because I do love her music. But as a HHN house, I go to the same aspect of how I felt towards The Weeknd.
Sure.
Obviously, Universal utilizes this because they have specialty cocktails and alcoholic beverages that sell through the roof up on the upper bar. But when it comes to the houses, they're very underwhelming. And they just don't fit. They don't make any sense.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this though. The second house they had for HHN for The Weeknd, it was okay. I'm not gonna say it was 100% great. It was okay. The first house they had, oh my god. First of all, the facade was phenomenal. The intimate detail they did with that was insane. But I loved it because it had two of my favorite songs I love. One of them was Save Your Tears. That right there, I love that song by The Weeknd from that album. I also love Blinding Lights. That was another amazing song as well. So that house was amazing. The second year they did it, again, it was okay. Was it my favorite? No, I like the first one better. And then I agree with George. I do like Lady Gaga with a lot of her songs, like older songs, not really the new songs, and unless you're talking about maybe the song she did with Bruno Mars. I do like that song. But some of her
And
newer
she is
stuff,
actually redoing her version of Won't You Be My Neighbor to pay
really,
tribute to Fred Rogers. Yeah, I watched the behind the scenes,
interesting.
kind of like her in the studio
Oh,
of
nice.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna perform it maybe during the Oscars or what have you. I'm not sure, but yeah,
That'd be
it
very cool.
sounded pretty cool.
No, that sounds awesome. The next house, we kinda were unsure about this because we thought, okay, Monstrose is done. Last year was part 3 and it was over. But right here, and we're thinking it's some type of land American house, and some people were hinting online that it could be a Monstrose 4. Do you think that's like overkill, like almost like what oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh god, what it is for Waterworld, the Purge? Do you think it's
Oh,
kinda overkill?
I kind of think so. I think if this is a fourth rendition of Monstrose, it's like this last year's Monstrose was okay. I didn't really
Sure.
care for it. I know Mademoiselle, she did not care for Monstrose 3 at all.
Yeah,
Um, the year before, I actually liked Monstrose 2. I think the puppetry was done really well.
sure.
But yeah, I agree with you. I kind of think it was overkill, no pun intended. Um, if they're going to do something kind of like in Latin America or like Land of the Dead or, just do something different, but I wouldn't go the route of Monstrose again.
No, I wouldn't either. George, I'm gonna let you take this one away. The burning book. What can that location
I
be? Just as
So that one I'm not 100% sure of, to be honest with you.
so,
I didn't actually catch that one when I looked at that.
yeah. Okay.
The lighter with the 2 cigarettes, I have a funny feeling what that one is, but the burning book, I'm trying to think.
And just to remind everybody, this location here is going to be where Fallout was last year. But go ahead, George.
I'm trying to think what that would be.
I'm not sure if anybody wants to put a guess in the comments, by all means, because this one's kind of got me stumped. Oh, you know what? I think it was evil, something evil. It was like Evil Dawn or Evil something, Evil Dead or something like that. And I forgot what Tommy told me it was, but it was something like that.
Yeah, you
I'm
know
not,
what? Now it's ringing a bell. I do remember him saying it, but he said it really fast, and
yeah, I
yeah,
can't remember
so
word
it's
for word.
probably that one. But the one with the lighter and the 2 cigarettes,
Go ahead.
I'm almost certain that's going to be Sinners.
And I haven't watched Sinners yet. It's just I've been busy with work and doing content, but I heard Sinners was phenomenal. Tommy raves about that movie.
Right
So
now, I mean, I know a lot of people of how they feel about like the award ceremony season and the Academy Awards, but Sinners right now in history of the Oscars has the most nominations
that's
ever
crazy.
for
That's
any film.
that's awesome though. By
Yeah, it
all
is.
that's phenomenal. That's almost like what they had for oh my god. What was that movie that Christian Nolan did with oh my god, with Robert Downey Jr. and the guy that played Scarecrow in the Dark Knight movies. What was that
Oh,
movie?
um, um, wait, a Christopher Nolan movie, not wait, it
It
wasn't
was
Inception, was it?
no, it wasn't the Odyssey. It was
No, but Odyssey's going to be coming out this year. I want to
yes.
see that one.
Yeah, that
Um,
one looks cool.
Interstellar.
No, it wasn't Interstellar. No, it was I can't think of the movie. George, if you want to look at it, oh
yeah, oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
Oppenheimer, oh my
Thank
god,
you, Remy.
oh,
Remy for the save. I love it.
Remy for the save. Oh my god, when you even said Robert Downey Jr., he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
Like,
Oppenheimer, they were talking about how it got a lot of nominations as well. So it kind of puts it in that category, which Oppenheimer, I did finally see. It was phenomenal. Oh my
it was.
God.
I'm telling you right now, honestly, because I seen Oppenheimer in theaters, but
Sure.
anything Christopher Nolan does
It's
is
just gold.
is like a stroke of genius.
Oh, 100%. He's like Steven Spielberg, man.
He is.
Like just gold comes out of his production company. It's crazy. It's insane. And actually, talking about Steven Spielberg, he's coming out with the new Alien movie, so I'm very curious to see what that's about.
And he just recently became an EGOT.
Yes.
Which means he like completed the whole Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
I love that. What an amazing accomplishment. If I ever got to meet him, I would love that. Before
I actually
oh, go ahead.
I actually got to see a brief not encounter like close up, but I did see him. Abby and I were up in LA. They were having the AFI Awards, where they were honoring Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay.
And I got to see him very briefly. We were across the street and they had the big red carpet. And actually, as you were walking inside, bless his heart, that's where Adam was standing when he got his glimpse of Steven Spielberg.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I remember seeing that post from Adam as well. That was pretty awesome to see that up close. Before we get to Waterworld, the Terror Tram, you want to give everyone your opinion what that's going to be?
For which one?
For the Terror Tram.
For the Terror Tram. Oh, okay, yeah. So for the Terror Tram, I almost can guarantee that they're moving Art the Clown for the Terrifier to incorporate him into the Terror Tram, which I'm cool with. I'm glad that if that is true, they're keeping him alive at HHN, no pun intended. Sure. Plus, you kind of already got a little glimpse of it because they had Art the Clown roaming around when you would exit off the tram and you start making your way back up to the upper lots. He's in that vicinity of so as you were saying.
No. No, go ahead. Because
I just kind of feel like I wonder if that was kind of like a little Easter egg to say, like, you know, eventually they were going to move him onto the Terror Tram itself.
100%. And I want to show a clip of that, of Art the Clown at the main Universal store, because I have it on my Instagram and I want to show that. But before I do, because we don't know what any of the scare zones are yet. That's what all those machete.
And there is still one more house that they didn't give any clues on. Where it's completely blank for the 8th one.
100%. Now, I think it was HHN Matt or HHN Speculation on Instagram. I'm not 100% sure, but I do give them credit because they actually posted it on Instagram. The Sea-Doo and the Bloody Hand, they were hinting at Resident Evil for Waterworld. Now, I want to ask you, because this is a property and an IP that has been strictly for Universal Japan's HHN. And we've seen a lot of IP come from the Asia market and be incorporated to Universal Hollywood with FanFest nights. Could this be our first iteration IP from that same Asian market with an Asian IP being incorporated into a domestic Halloween park?
I hope so, because there's 3 takeaways that I would say from this, if it's true. One, because it would be incorporating something from a Japanese or Asian market park, that you're incorporating it into a domestic US park, which I think that's good signs of things to come when like transferring stuff over into the domestic parks. Number 2, I think Resident Evil would reside, no pun intended, really well in the water world area. I think if they do it well, it can be done. It can be done really well. And number 3, I'm kind of burnt out with The Purge, to be honest with you,
Same.
and especially the show. Like it's okay, it's cool, but after seeing it for 2 years in a row, I recorded it the year before, but I didn't record it, I don't believe, this year. It was just, or maybe I did, I don't know. But yeah, it's just okay. Like I really hope we get something completely different.
100%. And again, we don't know what any of the scare zones are going to be. I don't know if Crows is coming back. I don't know if Clowns is going to be a scare zone. I'm not exactly sure. To be honest with you, and seriously, to be honest with you, and we'll look at the map one more time after I play this clip from Art the Clown, but with the Simpsons on the chopping block, okay? Because they have it's funny because right in the patio area where you get the big giant donut, they have like a big poster on the wall back there of Treehouse of Horrors. And I said, and I've been saying it for years now, I said, with, the Simpsons going away because obviously Disney owns the rights because of 21st Century Fox and all that. And we have to give up the licensing deal by 2028. I said, what a great way to go out with a bang and incorporate Treehouse of Horrors in the Simpsons area for HHN.
That would be really clever, honestly, because even with The Simpsons, even though it's an animated show, The Simpsons can get edgy. And
Yes.
they've gone edgy with Treehouse of Horror for many years in many episodes and many seasons. So yeah, they can get a little edgy. And you know what I would even like them to do? I wish that they would have done this before they take it out, whenever they do.
Sure.
During HHN, transition the Simpsons ride into a Treehouse of Horror ride through. Sort of like how they do with Mission Breakout during Halloween time.
That would have been cool. I don't think they would do it now because
no, they wouldn't do it now. It's way too late in the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. I do think though the Treehouse of Horror like scare zone is possible. I think they can make that work.
Yeah, they could. And especially because they, of what they're doing with FanFest and how they're having all like the Harry Potter walkthroughs of the Forbidden Forest and stuff. They could have easily done something with the Treehouse of Horror.
And 100%. Animaniac 2122 says that would be awesome if they don't do it. I hope Disney does it. I'm going to be honest with you, Animaniac. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Universal because they're more edgier with the Halloween event. And with Disney, it's all family friendly stuff. So I seriously doubt Disney would do something like that. Because like George talked about, The Simpsons are very edgy at times with some of their episodes, especially the early seasons, like the beginning seasons. I will tell you, oh my gosh, some of that stuff is like off the wall, comedy. Parks Explorer Adventure, welcome in. They said a Treehouse of Horror scare zone would be very awesome. Either a scare zone or a house. I think it would be more of a scare zone, but I would not be opposed to it. That would be freaking awesome. But let's play this video real quick from Art the Clown because I really like this, where you have a character we've been wanting for a long time. Not only was he part of the RIP tour dinner experience, he had his own house. He was in multiple scare zone locations, and he even went inside the store. It was so funny, but let's watch. Here we go. Hold on. I got to turn on the volume here so you guys can hear it. That might be nice. Here we go. I'm going to tell you this right now. That was the most fun interaction I've seen with a scare actor ever.
Do you know what that literally reminded me of? Like, aside from him being a scare actor and he's portraying a very evil, villainous character in a horror movie, but the comedy of where he's doing like the yay, boo, it kind of reminded me of the genie from the Aladdin musical spectacular at DCA,
Yeah.
where the genie kind of incorporates the audience participation in the show.
Oh, 100%. And I love that Art was like trying to showcase his merch and all that. And it's funny because we see other fellow content creators like Junior on Instagram, like he posted some stuff, other content creators, but Junior was like front and center. He does a lot of in-person vlogging, especially on Instagram. Really amazing work he does. But I will tell you, like, it's funny because he was filming something for Instagram and it showed where him and Mondo were in this exact store and Art the Clown's roaming through the store, right? And Art just starts grabbing stuff off the shelves and giving it to Junior and Mondo to buy. And then every time they try to put something back or like sneak something back on the shelf, Art kind of like gets real close to him and starts staring at him and like smiling and grinning. It was like I said, having Art the Clown and the way this character portrayed himself, this scare actor, phenomenal work. I mean,
well, and especially because of how they portray the character actually in the films.
Yes,
because he's a very dark character when you look at him, but he has this comedic charm to him that like it makes you draw to him, but that's his devilish plan. He wants you to like him, and then when you least expect it, you know, it's like that's when he gets you. So to put a character like that in the environment of HHN in a theme park, was brilliant. That was genius.
100%. Like I said, this scare actor particularly, I think he was a friend of Junior. I think Junior knows who the scare actor is. Really well played, and I mean really, really well played. It was absolutely phenomenal how he portrayed himself. Like George said, very dark character. You watch the movies, they're just like absolutely gruesome and they're just like bloody and just beyond gore. But it was just funny to see him in the store interacting with this crowd, and he and Art the Clown did this multiple times throughout the season, almost daily when HHN was happening, and then just kind of interactions with guests inside the store trying to get guests to buy more merch. It was kind of funny, and then we saw where he's booing the other merch and he's like, oh yeah, look at my merch, it's like, it's so funny. Oh my god, it was so hilarious. We got Remy D. He said, with Halloween and Xmas being so popular with Universal and Disney, do you think the summer months are now the considered slow season? You think Orlando and California have different crowd patterns? George, you would know best because you've been to Orlando.
Yeah, great double question, Remy. So I think when you put a quote, like how you did, you put the quote on slow, meaning like obviously the parks are still booming during the summertime, but in comparison to the crowds during the holiday season, I could definitely see a difference. I feel like Halloween and Christmas, especially Halloween, for some reason became the new summer. And I think Halloween kind of oversteps even Christmas, because I feel with Christmas, even though it is very popular, there's a lot more offerings to do for Halloween. Yeah. And I feel like when Christmas time, people go to the parks, but they also travel to go see their families. You know, they do other kind of activities. I feel like with Halloween, that holiday was like made for theme park entertainment. And I really think, honestly, Halloween became really the new the new summer. And then to your second part of the question, do you think Orlando and California have different crowd patterns? I do. I think honestly, when I say Disneyland and Walt Disney World are two totally different beasts, I think honestly the cities and the states of Florida and California are two different beasts, because I feel like that during certain times of what is considered peak season, you get more people that do more traveling. So if they do more traveling, they're going to go to Florida. And then for California, I mean, it's still hyped up with all this stuff, as you can see, for the locals. When they have HHN during, Universal Hollywood, I mean, the locals will come from all around California to do the scare houses, to interact with the scare actors and buy the merch and everything. So, they're two totally different crowd patterns for sure.
No, 100%, and that's what I mean. It's something that I will get a better angle on when I'm out there with George, and Tommy, for 2 weeks and kind of assess. So I'll have a better understanding to what George just said. But from what I've seen from the outside looking into the situation, they are two different, because Disneyland, the Disneyland Resort has been considered a locals park for a little while. Meanwhile, you got Walt Disney World. It's more catered to, travel, to international tourism, even domestic tourism as well. But it caters all those factors, where the Disneyland Resort really is trying to become a tourist destination. Don't get me wrong, it's trying to with Disneyland Forward, but it's mainly been considered a locals park, to be honest with you. So there is that difference. And then when it comes to Universal Hollywood and Universal Orlando, almost the same thing. Universal Hollywood, I'm not going to shy away from it. It's small. It's small because it shares.
And I feel like the people that do come from out of state or international to Universal Hollywood, it's not necessarily because they're traveling for Universal Hollywood. They're coming to do the LA experience. They're coming to do the California thing. They may be doing a dual trip, doing Disneyland and Universal Hollywood, where when you go to Florida, people are specifically traveling by plane, by train, by automobile, to go to stay at Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando.
100%. And that's something I was going to say also with even Universal Hollywood. Obviously, MGM Studios, which is now Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World, they tried to tap into that Hollywood theme aspect, even with Universal Orlando, with their version of the tram. They tried it as well, and it didn't work out. So literally, Universal Hollywood is literally the only park that has a studio tour. The park shares, the theme park shares the whole land or the whole property with a movie studio that literally generates hundreds of millions of dollars each year for the movie industry and whatnot, not just with movies, but TV shows, commercials, promotional, segments for production. So there's a lot of things that happen as well. So I do commend Hollywood compared to Orlando, because you don't see anything like it anymore. You don't.
Yeah. And can you bring up Ryan Turner's statement? Because this is actually very interesting.
Absolutely.
School schedules on the East Coast are also different compared to most West Coast states, especially for summer break. And I do agree with you, Ryan. But here's also the thing, too, that I've noticed on both sides, on both coasts. No matter what time of the year is, like it could be a random Wednesday or a random whatever, like during the month. And you'll see a bunch of kids in the parks. And I feel like I always question the fact of how do these kids like get out of school, you know? And I think honestly, after with COVID and what have you, when they started doing like the virtual classroom kind of thing, parents opted to say to their kids, "Hey, we'll give you this day, you know, but you're going to have to make it up with the virtual school. You know, you got to get your work done either before or after we go." You know, and because even on the East Coast, like with the bad snowstorms, kids don't even have snow days anymore.
No.
It's like ever since with COVID and everything, and they were doing school from home, um, that if you have a snow day, or for whatever reason that they can't open up operations in the public school system, you just do virtual learning. You know, you don't get a snow day anymore, which is sad, really, because when we grew up, I used to love having a snow day. We would get up real early in the morning and we would turn on the news, and they would have like down on the captions down on the bottom of, you know, when it would say Pittsburgh Public Schools closed, and I would like, yes, I got a free day from school. Like kids today aren't even going to know what that is, and that's sad.
It is sad. I want to give a big shout out to Theme Park and Things for joining us tonight. Always great to have them in the chat. Also, Park Explorer Adventure said, if it or Welcome the Derby comes to HHN this year, it would be cool to have Pennywise to be roaming the park like Art the Clown. So I'm going to tell you this. You know, it would almost make a thematical sense to bring Pennywise, because if you think about it, they debuted, I think it was season 1 of Welcome to Derby on, what was it, HBO? Was it HBO?
Oh yeah, the Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry. I'm sorry, I said.
I
Derby.
wonder if honestly that would be the 8th house.
Maybe.
But I wonder, because with the HBO and all that stuff, I wonder how which strings would have to be pulled.
Well, 100%, because if you think about HBO, and then you have Warner Brothers owning the IP to Pennywise, and again, Warner Brothers has worked with HHN before, so it's not unheard of. But the thing is, they're going through a transformation as well, because Netflix is trying to acquire them. Then there's this whole, you know, talk on social media that Warner Brothers might back out and go with Paramount's offer, because Paramount's offering a lot more. So there's a lot of back and forth with that situation. So I don't know. It's more than possible. I'm not going to say it's not. So it's beyond possible. So it's kind of a waiting game in a way. But I want to just bring up the map one more time, just to show you guys the map, so you guys can see it. So when I talk about the scare zone, because literally I know it's kind of hard to see here, I'm going to move my mic so you guys can hear me better. But where Simpsons is at is kind of like up here. That's where Simpsons is at. So I'm not exactly sure if, or no, is it right here or is it over here somewhere? Because this is the upper lot. Is it right here? Oh wait, is it up here? Yeah, no, it's up. Yeah, it's up here. I'm sorry. No, it's up here. But see, the only scare zone we have is way over here by the entrance of Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift.
So where would the 8th house be?
Okay, so the 8th house, because okay, so we have 4 right here, 2 right here, so that's 6. We have 7. So, well, actually, because the 8th house is right here. Look, see this with the machete, because it shows a house. So this is going to be on the back lot where we saw that new construction happening for one of the 3 security zones. So
Sinners and the
Whatever.
8th house will be where Terrifier and Poltergeist was.
Yes, but there has been talks about a 9th house, and if there is a 9th house or even a 10th house, it'll probably be somewhere on the lower lot here.
I'm telling you right now, if they start adding houses, I'm definitely going to have to buy the season pass because there's
Oh,
no way
100%.
I'd be able to get through all the houses in one night.
No, God, no. No, there's no way. No way. But I would not be opposed if they did add 2 more houses. I think right
I mean,
now
I'm not complaining. That would be really cool. I
that would
hope
be
they do.
awesome. That would be awesome. The only way I would see it though, because they're already taking up 1 sound stage, 2 or no,
I
well,
think honestly, once they start clearing out for future park expansion, when they start maneuvering stuff around for the tram, that's when they're going to add new houses.
I think that, and I think once they catch up on production on the Metro sets, we're gonna get those back, and that'll
Yeah.
increase the house count as well.
Yeah,
for
because they
sure.
were doing a lot of filming with Jumanji 4, and then they also had like production down, I think, for like the Super Mario Brothers
Yes,
movie and stuff. So there was like a lot of stuff going on down there.
100%. And again, they're still recuperating from COVID because COVID really threw a monkey
Yeah.
wrench in movie production for sure. But I want to thank everybody in the chat tonight for tuning in to this Conductor Sunday live stream on a Monday with our very special guest, George the Disney Italiano from Hollow Gelato. A big shout out to Chris West for the 199 super chat. We got Mam Lizelle for the 499 super chat. We got Angel for the 499 super chat. And also Hidden Geek Village for the $5 super chat. You guys have been absolutely incredible. And we have It's Florentine in the house. Good to see It's Florentine. Good evening, George and Conductor and Abby. Good to see It's Florentine. But I want to thank everybody in the chat. George, if you want to let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on Hollow Gelato, where Abby and I dive into all things theme parks, Disney, Universal, Knott's Berry Farm, even the cruise line. We recently just did a vlog of our true footsteps of Walt Disney around our LA experience. Definitely go over to Hollow Gelato and check that out. And there's a lot more content coming on the horizon. So please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on Hollow Gelato for all notifications. And you could also follow us on Instagram under Hollow Gelato as well.
Absolutely. And it's always great to have Hollow Gelato as a co-host. Like I said, that 11-hour live stream really changed our professional live stream relationship. So doing these 3-hour lives seems like 5 minutes to us. So
Yeah.
we deeply appreciate you guys joining tonight.
And also too, Conductor, thank you so much for having me on. As I said, I love doing content with you. I love just hanging out with you. As I said, you become my best friend literally through thick and thin, and I appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much said and a given.
Absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out to, again, Hollow Gelato, because if many of you don't know, he was the mastermind by planning this trip for me and Tommy, making all the dining reservations, making all the planning for us to make it possible where I can literally live my childhood dream of going to Walt Disney World for my very first time. You know, clearly as an adult, not a kid, but I'm going to feel like a kid inside, obviously. But I'm so excited to spend time with George and his wonderful wife, Abigail, and Tommy Toon World as we literally explore Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando for the very first time. And then also for the content that's going to come out of that, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Also, other programming notes as well. I do want to let everybody know that, like I said earlier in the live stream, me and George are going to do a reaction video to that full hour-and-a-half interview with Michael Eisner. So definitely stay tuned for that. Also, I was talking to George as well. I think I am going to be joined by him and his wonderful wife, Abigail, as we go see Scream 7 at the theater on Friday. So I'm super excited to see that and do a out of theater reaction with both of them. So I cannot wait for that. Also, as well, when I'm out in Florida, and I will remind everybody right now and every video continuing forward, my plan is to sit there and film a POV reaction video in the park, whatever park it might be. And then later that night, when we get back to the hotel at Walt Disney World, I will be doing a 1 hour, strictly 1 hour, because I'll time it, a 1 hour Q&A session. And you can ask me about the park where I was at. So definitely stay tuned for that. So I will be doing a Q&A live stream every single night, talking about the park, but not giving too much away. So you guys can watch the POV reaction video that will literally be dropping the next morning after I record it. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm super excited. But again, thank you guys so much. And last final comments of the night, Remy D, great talk. Thanks all. Have a good one. We'll have a great one. Remy D, it's Florentine, says, so excited for you, Conductor, for your first ever Walt Disney World trip in Orlando, Universal Orlando experience. George got you.
And that is really true. I really do. I definitely, I have them literally. As I said, I know what I want, not necessarily what I want them to experience, but like my expectation of what to show them so they can get the best, the best, out of the trip as possible. And Sean, not yet. Abby and I have not officially tied the knot yet. But what I appreciate from Conductor, and actually my mom even said it because she watches our lives as well, and she goes, even though I know you and Abby aren't legally married yet, she says, I really love and appreciate how Conductor still refers her to you as your wife, because I take Abby as my wife, even though it's not like, I'll still say like fiance and everything, but I mean, her and I we're bonded for life. So she might as well should just be my life. The only reason why we're waiting to tie the knot is basically just a lot of planning. It takes time, and we have a specified date set up, and we actually have it like embroidered on a lot of stuff. So now that we actually did all that, we have to wait for the date. But definitely have, this guy right here, one of my best men. So so he's definitely part of the wedding party. So yeah, definitely can't wait for that. But yeah, I do appreciate Conductor that he's, I think honestly, really the only person that like referred Abby as my wife prior to us getting married. But I like that. I appreciate that from him.
No, 100%, because I've seen it firsthand. George and Abigail literally have that kinetic energy, and it's like almost a bond that can't be broken. Kind of like what we kind of saw with like Fantastic Beasts with, what do you call it? Not Voldemort, but oh, come on. You had Dumbledore.
What the heck's his name?
Oh my God. Oh,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And it was like
where's Remy D?
Yeah, Remy D. If you're still in here, go save us. But no, it was Fantastic Beasts 2, where they're having that wand fight after the oh my God, see, that's what I mean. That name is like critical, and I can't think of the name. But they have that wand fight. No, not Newt. No, it was basically the predecessor to Voldemort. And I'm trying to think of his name. Oh my God.
Grindelor?
Grindelwald.
Grindelwald.
Grindelwald. So Grindelwald and Dumbledore were fighting after Grindelwald got.
Oh yeah, that's what I did. I actually put him and Dumbledore together. That's why I said Grindelwald.
Yeah, there you go. But no, you have Grindelwald and Dumbledore fighting after the announcement was that Grindelwald was named the new, was he the new minister or the new world leader or something like that? And you see that kind of like that heart charm. And Dumbledore kind of has like this like a bracelet or necklace that's around his arm. And every time they kind of fought, like there was like a wand fight or something, it would like literally be like tightening around Dumbledore's arm and like almost choking his arm. So it's kind of like the unbreakable vow that I kind of see with George and Abigail. That's why I always refer to Abigail as George's wife, because it's pretty much set in stone. Maybe not legally, but emotionally, and if you're around them in person, you can clearly see it. So that's what I mean by that. And I deeply appreciate George not only recognizing that, his mom recognizing that, but also to the point that I get to be part of his very special day, which is, again, me and Tommy, because Tommy is also a best man as well. Me and Tommy are so thrilled and so honored to be part of George's special occasion, where it's literally like an emotional event, and it's awesome. And I'm so blessed to be part of that. And like George said, me and him just have kinetic energy like him and Abigail do. So it's a great time. By all means, it's an awesome, awesome, awesome time. But again, everybody have a wonderful night. I will see you guys very soon, if not next Sunday, for Conductor Sunday Livestream. Stay cool or stay warm wherever you might be. I will see you guys very, very soon.